Welcome everybody, and again, and to say we're so happy to see you. Thank you for coming to this lovely workshop that our spiritual program manager, Mary Mogenberg, who is right there, who
Mary.
organized with Venerable Gendun, who's kind enough to come and lead this for us, and we're thrilled. We're thrilled, and we're hoping just to plant the seed that this workshop plants a seed for all of us to do regular 35 Buddha prostration practice, because it's such a powerful purification, and Venerable Gendun will tell you much more about that through the day. But maybe I can introduce him. Um, I know he doesn't remember, but I remember Venerable Gendun very well because we met at a retreat in Europe, I think in 2014. It was a retreat with Lama Zopa Rinpoche, our spiritual director. And Venerable Gendun was so kind to me, and he made such a big impression on my mind, and I couldn't wait to invite him to Thupten Norberling to teach. So I think we're so lucky to have him. I still have my heart set on one day studying uh, basic program Low Rig, Mind and Mental Factors with Venerable Gendun. So I'm hoping that he will return to do that with us. And today I'm very happy to do this workshop with him. For those of you who maybe don't know about Venerable Tenzin Gendun, then I will just let you know that he was born in Sri Lanka and he grew up in England. So that might be good news for Jamie and Susie and some of our London folks. You'll recognize the accent. It's very posh and lovely. But I will say that I think he met Tibetan Buddhism, if I'm not mistaken, in 1991 through the kindness of Lama Zopa Rinpoche and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And he was ordained in 1992. And then he's worked at FPMT centers in New Zealand. And then in 2000, he moved to Nalanda Monastery in France, where he studied FPMT's basic program and the master's program. So Venerable Gendun is a scholar. And he currently teaches at FPMT centers in Europe. And maybe I'll turn it over to Venerable Gendun, maybe just to say a few words about where he lives in France at Nalanda Monastery, because maybe some of us aren't familiar.
Sure. Okay, so Nalanda Monastery is one of, I think, one of the only two Western monasteries in the FPMT. So one here in France, which was first established, I think, in the early 80s. Another one was established much later on, I think, in, I can't remember, maybe 2004 or 5, in Australia, by Thupten Gyatso, Australian Adrian Fieldman, one of the first Western monks with the FPMT, who actually came here in the beginning. He was one of the first founder members of the Nalanda Monastery. It was founded like in 1983, I think. So this came about why in the West? So because at about this time, when many Sangha members were ordaining, like in India, with Lama Zopa, with Holiness Dalai Lama, and they were actually studying and living there, either in Tushita Dharamsala or in Kopan Monastery. But what happened was both the governments, the Indian governments, the Nepalese government, were making it more difficult for the Westerners in general, Western Sangha affected also, that they couldn't get long-term visas anymore. So Lama Yeshe thought, okay, maybe it's time to make a monastery in the West. So he gave out this kind of request, and one of the directors, so the center next to us was established like in 1970s. It's called the Institute Vajrayogini. That the director of that center looked around and found this land here that we have now, and luckily or unluckily for them, lucky for us, there was a fire on their building, a part of their building, one wing burnt. So they had insurance money from that. So the director took that insurance money, instead of doing their wing up, the roof and everything, she bought this land and offered it to Lama Yeshe. And from there, it became kind of the first monastery for the Western Sangha. So Adrian Philman, Thupten Gyatso was here. Steve Collier was here in the beginning, so you're familiar with him. Then I'm not sure Rene was here. Rene Fusey was here. So a lot of our even still going Sangha members came through here. They studied with Geshe Jampa Tekchub, who was the first abbot, who I think you're also familiar with. And it's cool, of course, now that those Sangha members are gone, some are in retreats, some are teaching, some are disrobed. So it's a new kind of flow of Sangha members coming through. So I've only been here since 2000. I only know a brief history compared to the other monks. But they had a very, very tough time, when they first established themselves here. I think Jambatechuk, the abbot here, even told the monks, if you go to town, please don't wear your robes, because people don't know what you are. If you're so unfamiliar for them, you might freak them out. So they didn't wear robes, when they went out to town. But now we're so well established that people are very familiar with us. Even the mayor of our local area came recently because we actually bought a new piece of land next door to us. It's going to be we call it Maitreya Pure Land. It's going to be a retreat place. So when the mayor came, he was quite kind of happy that we're around. One thing he said, somehow you being here benefits the whole community around here. And you don't. One thing you liked is we don't go around putting Dharma down people's throats. We just get on with our business, and people want to come and learn about the Dharma. Of course, they're welcome to come, but we're not out there on Saturday morning in the markets, and kind of doing any propaganda. So he's quite respectful of us, and he's very lenient with us. Actually, even on our land, we have many retreat huts, which normally, shouldn't be built by law, because there's only so many garden sheds you can have in your land, right? We call them garden shed. So we've got about 2 or 3 of them now. So it's a bit. We say, oh, don't worry. He turns a blind eye. So they're very, very kind to us. And, so now it's well established. We had a second abbot, Geshe Gyatso, who was based in Italy at that time. He was a resident teacher in Pomaya Center, so he used to come and visit us every year. And then he passed away, and then our resident teacher here, called Geshe Jampel, he was appointed the abbot, and he still is. So Geshe Losang Jampel, coming from Seri J Monastery, one of the top Larampa Geshes, and then he started the basic program. And then as we continued on, when more students came, and we opened up to having lay students coming with us. So there's quite a large community right now, So we started I started the basic program here. We did the 5 years, and another one started, and then we started the master's program. So I've just come to the completion of that, and the basic program will keep going like this. The master's program hopefully will continue. We don't know which geshe, because we have 2 geshes now living with us. So we don't know what's going to happen in the next programs, but hopefully the master's program will continue again. And now actually we've started a Lamrim course, so it's called the Lamrim Chenmo. So it's quite rare to have teachings on the great Lamrim text by Lama Tsongkhapa, and that's going on for 2 years. It just started last week. So Geshe Loso, one of the English Geshes who's residing with us, he finished his studies in Dharamsala. He's living with us at the moment. He's teaching the first part, all the way up to Karma Abiding and Special Insight. And then Geshe Losang Jambal will teach Karma Abiding and Special Insight from September up till the summer of next year. So if you're interested, it'd be a really good course to follow. It's quite easy in terms of the teaching time is only 1.5 hours. There's some review classes, and for those that really want to, you can take part in kind of quizzes and stuff like that. But it's quite rare to have this kind of teaching in this kind of lengthy period of time. So it's quite nice if you're interested. Okay. So that's how Nalanda started, and it's still going. Thanks to all our sponsors around the world and the IMI sponsoring us. It's just amazing when I look and see what happened when I came here in 2000. There was about 11 monks maximum. We were studying, doing our work, cooking for each other, etc. But then Venerable Tenda, I guess some of you might have met him. He came on the fundraising tour to America year before last, I think. So when he became director, he actually opened up the doors to having more lay people coming and living with us and doing our courses. So thankfully, they actually support us, because they come for the studies. Some of them have given up their jobs and their careers for a while to study different texts of the basic program, depending on what how much time they have. And so, of course, that money helps to support the monks here. So it's one way that we can survive. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's basically how we started. Yeah. So, I mean, once the COVID is all finished, I'm sure some of you can visit here. In the summer, we have lots of retreats going on. We started a few years ago something called Lamrim courses, so sometimes 3 weeks to 4 weeks, guided by some of the monks who studied here, and sometimes visiting monks. That's open to everybody. And sometimes we have Vipassana retreats also, and sometimes we have big events like Khandrila, the Khandrila coming sometimes, and that brings in a lot of people because she's such an amazing teacher. And somehow she has a very strong link with us. She prefers to come and stay with us, although the Institute Rajagini is also available for retreats. She prefers to stay with us, and the retreats hosted here. Yeah. Okay, also the winter now we're starting to do more tantric retreats. So the second year now we're doing a Yamataka retreat. It's led by one of our Swiss monks, who's one of our long-term IMI members. And so he's actually doing the retreat now at the Maitreya Pure Land, at the neighboring center we just bought recently. So, okay, so what's this
Thank
thing
you.
about? Okay, the 35 Buddhas.
So maybe we could start with some prayers just for auspiciousness, if that would be all
Sure,
right. Okay,
sure.
maybe our SPC Mary Mogenberg, she will lead those for us.
Okay, sure.
We'd like to offer a mandala. Thank you so much for being and teaching for us. Sajipu ki jushing mektok tramri rablinji Degen padi sange jingdu mi te huai droku nam dak jingla choparsho. O holy and perfect pure Lama, from the clouds of compassion that form in the skies of your Dharmakaya wisdom, please release a rain of vast and profound Dharma precisely in accordance with the needs of those to be trained. Idam Guru Ratnam Mandalakam Nirya Tayami. And let's take refuge, once in English, twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the
Buddha,
Dharma,
Dharma,
and the
Supreme
Supreme Assembly.
Assembly.
By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodan
Chodan
Soki
Sugye
Chonamla
Chonamla,
Chonchu Bardu Dagni
Dani
Kap
Kapsuchi,
Bardu Dagni Kapsuchi Dagi Jinso
Jinsoki
Gipet Sonam Ki Dola Penchir Sangye Drupar Shok Sangye Chodan
Chodan
Soki
Sugye
Chonamla Chanchu Bardu Dagni Kapsuchi Dagi Chonen Gepe Sonangi Jola Penchir Sangye Drupar Shog. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so let's reflect a little bit about the refuge first, Sangye Chodan Sukhi Chonam La, to think about the causal refuge. So we're going for refuge, for protection from the beings who've already gone beyond, who've already achieved their enlightenment. To remember what enlightenment is, from this Sangye, from which we're saying Sangye is purified, completely purified mind and completely realized mind. It's purified of all the afflictions, all the things that really bother me. Think about what messes our mind up, our anger, our jealousy, our pride, our attachment, all these things, And due to this, we create all kinds of actions. Due to that, we're propelled into samsara. So I think these beings have completely purified their minds from all these negative states. Not only that, they've got rid of all the imprints of these afflictions. Yeah. And that's why they completely realize, having all the perfections like complete patience, complete pure ethics, generosity, joyous effort, concentration, wisdom. So that's why they can be of benefit to us. That's our example. So how did they do that? So we're just saying, how did they do that? Because their minds, were just like ours. They did it by putting effort, and method side, the wisdom side. So think of bodhicitta, wisdom realizing emptiness, selflessness. So with those two, yeah, for life after life after life after life after life, they're able to purify those minds. Because remember in our case, when we have the antidotes, like we have loving kindness and patience more and more strong in our minds, it's difficult for anger to arise, right? So that's the antidote for anger. So imagine doing that so powerfully that anger cannot rise anymore. There's no seeds, imprints of anger to come up anymore. See how wonderful that would be, right? So that this is what these beings have done with their minds. So we have the power to do the same, and because we also have the potential to put those antidotes, we know it because we've done it already, right? I mean, we know we're not as angry as we used to be with certain things in our lives. We've changed, hopefully, on the Buddhist path, be able to use those antidotes more and more strongly. And then anger doesn't have such a strong effect on us anymore. Of course, the seeds are there, of course, because we haven't got to that level yet. That's how far we can go, you see. So it gives us this image of what we can do with our minds, right? Because that's, if we want to really benefit others in the best way, to protect others in the best way, we have to first be a perfect example. Yeah. So the Sangha Chora, so first, we go for refuge to beings who've done it. So then we go until enlightenment. So until we become a resultant refuge. When we have done all our work, we will become just like that, and we are protected to others. So think, if we're trying to, especially in the Mahayana way, if we're trying to benefit others the best way, we have to really purify our minds completely, purely. Otherwise, we can help people only in a mediocre way. That's like a good psychologist can really help their clients if they've really done the work themselves. Otherwise, they can't really help. It can be very intellectual, very good theory, but they have to really done their own work. So just like that, we have to do our own work. Then we can really benefit others the best way. So, what are we looking for? We're looking for this peaceful, kind of happy mind, a stable, peaceful, happy mind. Where does that come from? It comes from getting rid of all our afflictions. How to do that? We have to put the antidotes. Yeah. So when we put the antidotes, there is no afflictions arising for us to create the karma that brings us into samsara, life to life to life to life. So we do the same thing around, or look, coming back into lives. So to look in samsara in general, all the different lives we can possibly take, in the future, and think, well, are they really stable kind of levels of happiness? Because just being in samsara, just having the contaminated body and mind, we're going to have to experience different kinds of suffering. The suffering of change, the all-pervasive suffering. Think of the all-pervasive suffering most of all, because that's whatever realm you get born into. Whether it's even the higher realms, in the form realms, the formless realm, they're all in the nature of suffering, because at some time we drop back. Why? Because we still have karma, right? The karma gets ripened, the good karma finishes, and we drop back. So our mind goes towards leaving samsara completely. So it's called the mind of definite emergence. The mind definitely wishing to emerge out of samsara. So normally we call it renunciation, but it's not such a good term. Yeah? It's the mind wishing to leave samsara completely. So we look at that, we think, well, that's great, and what do we need to do that? Like Rubino says, what's the recipe for that? You need ethics, concentration, wisdom. Yeah, perfect ethics. On base of that, leads to perfect concentration. On base of that, the wisdom increases. Yeah, to selflessness, realizing emptiness of self and all phenomena around us. That's what we need for complete liberation. Where we start. So in the Mahayana practice, we stop to what about everybody else? So we connect with beings around us. Like we normally do. We place our mother to the left of us, father to the right of us, all our relatives, friends behind us. all sentient beings around us. We think, remember the kindness we received, especially from our parents, relatives, friends. So how selfish it would be, how kind of self-centered it would be to just work for our own liberation, when we know there is a way to help these beings in the best way. There is another way of achieving what we call a purified, enlightened mind. So then we let go of the personal liberation and work for the benefit of all sentient beings. You know? Because that's when we have this perfect clairvoyance that can know what's happening in that person's mind, what that person needs, what teaching, what words are needed for that person to bring them into virtue. And slowly, step by step, life by life, guiding them through virtue, through the steps into their own enlightenment. So then the mind goes away a little bit from just working for one's own liberation, going towards the fully enlightened mind that the Buddhas have achieved. You know, that's going towards a Mahayana view. So for that, the wisdom is exactly the same. The wisdom realizing selflessness of self and phenomena that the individual practitioner going for liberation is the same. But now the Bodhisattva conjoins it with this compassion. So remember, it's not just compassion like, oh, how wonderful if all beings were free. You know, may they just be free of suffering. How wonderful that would be. Because even the individual practitioners have that individual hero, what we call the hero liberation practitioners have that. You can't say the heroes don't have compassion. That'd be ridiculous, right? It's just that their compassion isn't strong enough to take on the responsibility to say, I will do it, myself alone, and bring them to enlightenment. So this is where now the bodhicitta practice, I'm sure some of you may be familiar with, of the 6 cause and 1 effect, you know, seeing all beings as being others, remember the kindness of others, wishing to repay the kindness, generating great love, great compassion, the special intention, and finally thinking to really benefit them, I must achieve enlightenment. Yeah. The other way is also to self, exchanging self from others. You think of, you know, all beings are equal in wishing for happiness, not wanting suffering. There's no use to discriminate now between friend, enemy, stranger. So there's that like equanimity from our side and their side. So equally, you know, from our side, there's no use for us to discriminate friend, enemy, stranger, because in our think of past lives, they've been everything to us. You know? So the friend of this life has been difficult in last lives. The difficult person in this life has been a friend in last lives. Even this life is changing all the time. Yeah? It's so fleeting, these labels we give to people, depending on what they've done to our self-cherishing, self-centered mind. When our ego gets pleased, we call them friends. When the ego is hurt, we call them enemies and difficult people, right? So in subject to them from their side, they're same as us, wishing only for happiness, not wishing for suffering. And many, they don't know what real happiness is. When there's real peace in the mind, when there's no afflictions, that's when there's real happiness, right? So we like to take them into virtue, into liberation, into enlightenment. Yeah? To do that, we have to be enlightened ourselves. And to do that, what's blocking us is our own karma that's coming up, you know, taking us to difficult states even now in this life. All kinds of karma is ripening. Yeah? At different times, you know, different things are ripening. So think how wonderful, you know, I don't have to go through these karmic obstacles anymore. So I'm going to purify. Why am I going to purify? The more I'm purified, the easier it is for me to help beings, because the path to enlightenment becomes quicker and quicker and quicker. Right? So in this practice of 35 Buddhas, we purify, you know, by having strong regret, thinking of our negative karma that can ripen any time. Any kind of sickness come, any kind of accident can happen to us, and it will block us. For even this life, imagine if you have an accident, you lose your hearing, lose your sight. It's much more difficult to practice in the Dharma. Look at Rinpoche himself, having shown the aspect of having the stroke. So much more difficult to prostrate, but you still, when you see him now, he insists on prostrating himself because this is the benefits. You see, he doesn't say, "Well, yeah, we can just visualize." You just insist on doing it himself. And now it's telling us, make use of your life now when you have the perfect body that's functioning well, to do as many prostrations as you can. Because it's so valuable, because we can purify so much negative karma that can ripen this life future lives, and it blocks us from helping these sentient beings, you see. When the compassion is so strong in us, it's like it's unbearable that we have these negativities like like a heavy load on us that can ripen any time. It's like we don't know when the terrorists were going to attack any time, you see. So we're very careful, where we go. It's like so this negative karma we have, we don't know when it's going to ripen actually, because we're not clairvoyant enough to see what's happening from our past lives, right? So I think now is the time to purify. So this urgency comes. It's actually Rinpoche, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, one of the main practices he gives to people, many of the monks and nuns, of course, is a 35 Buddha practice, because most of them were not around monastic environments like we are here, where we have a confession ceremony every 2 weeks for our kind of our broken vows. So some of the Sangha members are in centers around the world. These are one of the ways to purify their vows, you see. So I remember when I went to New Zealand, I didn't do this kind of, actually, but by one of our rites as a monk, is a monk or nun, we have to do a 2 week or fortnightly confession ceremony. And you need at least 5 Sangha members to do that. So I was basically alone. Of course, I had a geshe there. But if you don't have other Sangha members, you can't do the ceremony. So for years, I couldn't do it. So Rinpoche gave me, before I left, was the 35 Buddha practice. And when I found out later, he gives it to many Sangha. It's not like a special practice. It's just something we have to do, basically. It's like taking breakfast, So you do it every day. You do it. Think of everything you've done the day before. Anything happened at night time, any negative thoughts you had, and you purify. So it's one of the main emphasis Rinpoche Lama Zopa places on it. So I hope the center can probably encourage other people to do it. So let's see how it's done. So you think of the negativities that you've committed. So again, this goes back to completely the law of karma. You have to understand karma, otherwise this whole thing goes to pieces, right? So you have to understand what's a projecting karma. Right? Projecting karma is something we've done which has the 4 factors. For example, taking a life. Okay, taking a life means that the being other than you was there in front of you. Right? Then the second was with kind of an affliction, with attachment or anger, it could be ignorance. You took the life. Right? So you can have to take the life yourself. You can ask somebody else to take it for you. So it's the same weight. Yeah, if you do it either yourself or somebody else. So if you think, well, how can you, for example, how can you kill out of attachment? Well, it could be because you want to eat something, because you like, I don't know, chicken or something. So you're on a farm, and so well, it's no problem. It's my chicken. I can do what I want. So you take it through attachment. You take the life. Right? Through hatred, some things. Maybe a mosquito buzzing around your room. You hate the sound. You can't stand that. You want to take some blood from you. So with anger. Ignorance can be, for example, some people are doing like still in Nepal, they're making sacrifices, thinking it's beneficial, thinking it's actually purification, thinking it's meritorious to make animal sacrifices. So that can be possible. So you take the life yourself, or you ask somebody else to do it for you. And then the completion is actually when the animal's life, or the animal, or the being loses its life, loses consciousness. All 4 factors are there, right? That's a complete karma. Yeah, that, if it's not purified, would project you, into future lives. Of course, when you think about the first immediate result, will be a life in the lower realm. Yes, the Buddhists talk about lower realms, unfortunately. So you will leave that one day, because good karma is still, around. It ripens. You leave it, you become a human. Then the difficult thing is, you become a human, you have a result where you may have to experience something similar to what you did. So you may get harmed. Could be early on in your life. You may be aborted. You may die as a child. You may have an accident later on, so you die. Yeah. Then there's a result similar to what you did, in that you have a tendency to do that again. So you're born with this tendency, wishing to take life. It almost comes instinctively. Like that. The Rinpoche says that's one of the worst, because it's like constantly there. We're born, we're like programmed with this tendency. That's very, very unfortunate, because we just do it again and again and again. Then the fourth one is the actual environmental karma. It's like what kind of place where we'll be born into, right? So think of that. So, in terms of killing, it's very, desolate places full of fear. So we'll get something to what we do. We'll have a lot of fear, like in a war zone, something like that, So we have to think, is that the kind of things we want to experience? Because especially when the Dharma, it's very, very hard to, use them. So of course, depending what level you're on, some of the difficult situations you have to use transform into the path. Some of us, we're not at that level to do it, right? So we get so many blockages coming. So then we can't benefit others, because we're born into places, for example, where there is no Dharma, there are no teachers, there is no teachings. Even now in the world, all kinds of areas exist where there's very little teaching going on. Or we could be born, we have no interest in teaching, even if there are centers or teachers around, we have absolutely no interest. So these are the kinds of bodies we can take, the minds we can take. Of course, then it blocks us, right, from benefiting others. So what we're trying to do is imagine, what we may have done this life that we can remember, especially the karmas of all the four factors, because they're the ones that project us into these realms, right? Once when the factors aren't there, then his karma is indefinite. We don't know what kind of karma we will be ripening. Yeah, it could be it's kind of obviously indefinite. We don't know how it'll really make us go into another realm. So then these things of this life we can remember. So the thing is, if you've done something kind of heavy and it's not ripened, it's going to ripen any time. Could be this life, it could be another life. So we get this kind of a fear, but a healthy fear, thinking, I don't want that to happen to me. Just like when we were young, why do we go put so much effort into our education and kind of our livelihood, etc.? Because we were kind of thinking of our future of this life as we get older. We need to have this much protection, insurance, and a social security, or well-being in our life. So we're thinking of our future of this life. So the same way we're thinking of the future of this life in terms of karma ripening, and also of future lives. Right? So think of things we did this life and think, well, if you've done them this life, it's very possible we've done them in past lives, and it could have been a lot worse. Right? So we have to kind of think of things. We now look at people and, well, I would never do that. I would never have said something like that. I would never. But actually, we've done all of that before. So who are we to kind of look down at others and think, well, who's that? What kind of behavior is that? Actually, we've done something very similar. Why? Because of past lives. And I think, this faith, this conviction of past lives and future lives is very important. Remember, the body and mind, two different phenomena, although linked in this life. The body has its own substantial cause. Yeah. So the sperm and egg of the parents of this life. The mind has its own substantial cause. Yeah, it's a previous moment of mind itself. And that goes back into the womb and before. Because mind just didn't just appear into the womb just like that. So that even the sperm and egg, that wasn't the condition that created. It didn't create the mind. The mind has own continuity, right? So that's why the mind is going back to another life, and another life, another life. So we say beginningless lives. So it's it's a weird concept in Buddhism, but there's no creator, so no one created our first mind. Yeah, no one has thought, well, let's create a Gendun. First idea of Gendun didn't work. So all these lines go all the way back. So I mean, everything. So we have to go even beyond the idea of this world system forming. Yeah. Even before this world system formed, we've existed. Why? Because there's many universes. There's like many world systems. So we've done many different things. So all these things have been kind of recorded in our mind. And it's just a matter of time when we have to experience it. So luckily this life we've experienced a good one because we've got a human body. We're not a pet dog or a wild animal or any other kind of spirits or god realms or lower realms. We've taken a human body, all our senses are intact. We see, we hear, we can speak. So then on top of that we met a teacher or a guide that helped us. So now our life becomes incredibly precious. Not only that, these teachers showed us now what leads to real happiness, what leads us to difficult situations. So he talks about karma, the ripening of karma. Not so, sometimes we do think, well, sometimes karma goes to only the negative aspect. We have to think also the positive aspect. The positive aspect is this life. Okay, it's contaminated because we go to karma and affliction, but still, due to having this body and mind, now we can start to practice. So it's incredibly rare to use his body and mind to practice virtue. So now we have a chance, like this practice 35 Buddhas, we can actually use it to purify our negativities. Yeah. So these 35 Buddhas are supposed to have done, whilst they were practicing the path as Bodhisattvas, like, when the Bodhisattvas have attained certain levels, their prayers become incredibly powerful. It's just like the medicine Buddhas, which we normally recite their names after. So they would have prayed, whoever says my name, may this many eons of negative karma be purified. So now due to those prayers, when they become enlightened, they become actual. So now when we visualize certain Buddhas and we prostrate and say their names, that naturally happens. Those karmas we're trying to purify is actually being purified. So it's an amazing kind of technique that Rinpoche, the Buddhas have given us, that now we have this perfect method to purify negativities. Of course, there's Rajasatva and other methods, but this is another method we can use. So we have to use all the tools we can to purify our minds. Yeah. So this is a time we have to use, we have to take this opportunity well and use it as best as we can. So for Rinpoche, it's not the actual physical prostration. Of course, it's very important, and you see him even now prostrating. But he often say it's the actual saying of the names. You might actually pronounce the names, right? So that's why quite often he say, please learn the names, memorize the names, because if you memorize them, it's much easier. You get up, you recite them. So you recite with your speech. So it's like a physical, verbal prostration. With your mind, you're paying complete respect and thinking of all the negativity you want to confess. And physically, you actually go down. So it's much easier to do the prostration ceremony if you had the names memorized. So I memorized them a long, long time ago, like in the 90s. So I think it was in Bodh Gaya. So that time I was doing English, and then later on I learned it in Tibetan. So then I forgot the English. I kind of get mixed up in English. So I kind of learned it. I don't know, Tibetan ones sound so nice to me, so I tried to memorize it. And it came about after some time. So how do we start? So we actually we take refuge, because we think, wow, I must be carrying so much negativity. I mean, it's you gotta laugh, but it's also a bit scary, right? Because so many lives, so much stuff we've done, from serial killers to, I don't know, we've been taking planes into buildings, all the terrorist acts. We thought, oh, wow, how could they done? We did that. We did something similar to that. And, we killed so many people and hurt so many people. So now we may be very ethical, sexual misconduct would be completely taboo for us. But who knows what we did past lives, you see? We just don't know. So we give into that doubt. Okay, maybe we've done this. Maybe we've done it. You name it, we've done it. And that stuff is going to ripen in all kinds of ways. And it's going to block us so much so that kind of fear comes, but also it's kind of, I really have to do something because I can't just sit around. It's like, I remember I had this feeling when I was in Kopan and I heard Rinpoche talking, Rinpoche was talking, Kirisense Rinpoche was talking. I felt like, if this is all true, I've really got to do something with my life. It becomes quite serious. Then the mind comes, oh my gosh. So then, of course, there's Rajasatva practices, and this is another one, 35 Buddhas to practice. So we don't have to experience that karma, right? So also this way, we actually create a lot of merit. So Rinpoche often says, every time you go down, you touch your forehead to the ground, and you get up instantly, quickly, because you're thinking you're leaving some samsara to benefit all sentient beings, because you're doing this whole thing with bodhicitta. It's not just like, oh me, I have to be from a negative karma. Oh me, it's like a very strong idea of me holding on. Yeah, it's naturally with bodhicitta, you let go of that. I'm doing it because I don't want to experience negative karma that's going to block me from attaining enlightenment to benefit all sentient beings. And I need to attain enlightenment as quickly as possible because all these beings have been so close to you, so fond of you, like your parents, relatives have been so best friends, and they're suffering due to their afflictions. They don't know what to do about them. And even now, this life is hard for you to explain to them because they're not ready for that. They don't want to hear your Dharma stuff. So how are we going to get to them? So we need to be enlightened. We need to have clairvoyance for them to see what's the best method to approach them, right? So that urgency comes about because you see, if they continue with their normal activities and probably going to non-virtue, done with strong affliction, they're going to experience a lot of suffering, low realms, difficult rebirths, human rebirths, where they have, so many problems, physical sicknesses, mental problems, all kinds of stuff. So you don't want them to go through that, just like you don't want to go through that. You don't want them to go through that. So wonderful you can stop them from going through all that by reaching out to them, helping them. So I need to have this, I need to be enlightened. To do that, I need to purify my mind. So with that, we go for refuge to the Buddhas, the Dharma and the Sangha. So if that image that we're going to visualize is Shakyamuni Buddha, the historical Buddha. And then from his heart is Avalokiteshvara 1,000 times. And then from there comes his rays of light. Okay. And then there's this first row of Buddhas. They're blue in color. Yeah. They have different hand gestures, like the hand gesture of Akshobhya, the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. The second row is white in color, and then yellow in color, then red in color, and then green. Okay. And below them, the medicine Buddhas. So we have to have this kind of strong faith that actually there in front of us. Of course, Mickey Mouse mind, we can't visualize them so clearly, but just have a little bit of they're here. First, the presence, they're here. So it said in the teachings that anyone who just thinks of the Buddha is manifesting in front of them. It's just we don't have the karma to see them. We haven't got that pure vision to see them. So just by thinking, they're already here with us. Right? So bring them in front, the presence of them in front. Then a deep regret.
I'm sorry.
It's not guilt, it's a regret.
Should I share the image of the 35 Buddhas? Would that be helpful now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, just a quick, 5 seconds. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, blue in color. The third one's got a white face, white head. Especially, that third one's especially good for harm by spirits. Yeah, white in color, yellow in color, red in color, green. So yeah, white is Varachona, yellow is Ratnasarava, red is Amitabha, green is Amagasiddhi. So they will have different hand gestures. Of course, it's just trying to go into too much details, your mind might get too cramped. Just imagine they're in front of you and they're here to purify, right? And then a deeper regret comes, all the negativities you've done. Think of this life, things you've done which you feel sorry about. So again, it's not a heavy mind of guilt. It's kind of a mind of, okay, I made a mistake and now it can be purified. This method will purify. And then from now, I'm going to kind of restrain, stop myself from doing that again, knowing of the consequences that will bring if you follow that action again. So to be kind of realistic with some of our actions. Some definitely we can completely stop this life, some we can't. So we have to give like a time limit of how long we can stop it for, that kind of action that was hurtful, right? So that regret comes. So the stronger the regret, the stronger the purification. But how does that regret become strong? By thinking of karma and thinking of the consequences that negative karma will bring for us. Yeah, so we have to really look into the teachings of karma. When that's really solid and stable, thinking especially the 10 non-virtuous actions, the results, then you become, the regret comes much more strong. So then there's the actual saying the names and prostrating. So that's actually the remedy from the four opponent powers. So first is reliance, the refuge, the bodhicitta, and to benefit all sentient beings, I need to purify my karma. Then that regret comes. The karma, the stronger the regret, the stronger the purification. Then the actual remedy itself, so saying the names, reciting the names of the Buddhas, and then doing the physical prostration. Right? So what Rinpoche recommends is that you normally recite the names 3 times or more if you can, but you do 3 prostrations for each Buddha. So because his emphasis is more on the recitation, he would say, you do the prostration, but you keep reciting the names like crazy, like as fast as you can, as much as you can. Use your speeches, using to use the name of the Buddha, and you do the 3 prostrations, right? So there's many versions of how you can do that. For example, as you get up, you see the 35 Buddhas, you prostrate, you go through each one, do 1 prostration to each, go to the end, come back, start again, and come back, start again, like that 3 times. Or you stay with 1 Buddha, keep reciting the name many times, and do 3 prostrations of that Buddha. Next Buddha, say the names many times, 3 prostrations of that Buddha. You go on until we do 35. Like that. Okay, and then you will do the medicine Buddha names, and then you will do the actual confession prayer. So sometimes in the confession prayer, some depends on who's doing it. Some people keep prostrating, even the confession prayer, and then only kneel down at the general confession. There's kind of 2 confession prayers at the end. You would keep prostrating right to the end of the main confession, and then stop, kneel down, and do the general confession. Yeah, but sometimes me, I would probably sit in, I'm so lazy, I would sit straight after the 35 Buddhas, medicine Buddhas, and then reflect on them. Because for me, it's difficult to prostrate and think again, I did this, I did this, I did this. So I sit and meditate and go slowly through the different types of things that we're trying to purify, right? Yeah, so I'd like to maybe go through the prayer itself, right? If you put the prayer up, confession prayer. Okay, so it's important to know what we're trying to confess. So the prayer gives a little bit of idea. Okay. So we say to them, so it is at the end, okay, but anyway. So all the 35 Buddhas, 7 medicine Buddhas, and the others. So of course, as you only have Shakyamuni Buddha, Avalokiteshvara's heart, the light rays come out, the 35 Buddhas and the medicine Buddhas. But of course, if your mind is vast enough, imagine like oceans and vast clouds of skies filled with Buddhas in front of you. So perfectly complete Buddha Bhagavans as they are abiding, living, residing, all the world systems of 10 directions. All you Buddha Bhagavans, please pay attention to me in this life and all the states of rebirth in which I have circled in samsara from beginningless lives. Whatever negative actions I've created, made others create or rejoice in the creation of. So remember, right, it's not just the things that we have done, right, ourselves. You've got to remember, there's some things we do in this life, we've asked others to do for us, lie, steal, killing. Sexual misconduct is more difficult actually. you can't experience. It's difficult, not because sexual misconduct you have to experience the experience of pleasure, right? So you can't tell somebody else, don't you? Go and sleep with that person, it's okay. Yeah. Of course, it's not so good, but actually that have the complete defeat, kind of complete the fourth factor. The completion must be that you have to experience the pleasure. See, so sexual misconduct is one that you can't have a complete act by asking others to do it for you, but some of the others you can. Right? So made others create or rejoice in the creation of. So again, it's not just asking others for doing it. So we actually then, on top of that, we actually, it increases by rejoicing in the action we've done. Right? So whatever positions of stupas. So of course it says stupas here, but it's not just talking about the physical kind of stupa. Stupa can also mean here towards the Buddha and the Dharma, right? So like for example, Buddha images being broken, the Dharma texts being destroyed, or not taking care of the Dharma, like putting it in low places on the floor, walking over Dharma texts, etc. So many transgressions we've done through against the Buddha and Dharma. And then position the Sangha, or position the Sangha in the 10 directions that have appropriated, made others appropriate, or rejoiced in the appropriation of. So here the Sangha thing is a big thing, because Sangha living in their vows. So any possessions that they have, the community possessions, in taking it or misusing it becomes incredibly heavy, right? And then also rejoicing in that. And then whichever among the 5 heavy negative karmas without break I have done. So this, yeah. So this is in the lower schools, like the Theravada schools, they would say these 5 negative karmas cannot be purified in this life, because it's so heavy, it's just impossible. So what are these negative karmas? It's killing one's mother, killing one's father, killing an arahant, drawing blood from the Buddha, and causing a schism in the Sangha, like making the Sangha break apart, fall apart. So the 5th one is a bit difficult to do, because that can only be done actually at the Buddha's time, right? When the Buddha was alive, so that's hard to do. And hopefully some of the others we have not done this life, but if they have been done, it can be purified. So there's always hope. That's why this amazing practice is just so amazing. We don't have to go through the results of having done those actions, right? So think, my gosh, but who would kill their mother and father? But who knows? You see, this life is unthinkable for us, but last lives, who knows what we were? Who knows what kind of lives we had? What kind of strong anger or jealousy or pride you had? Some people. So sometimes hearing what's going on in the news, sometimes the stories where this actually happened, it's actually happened. Wow. So yeah, that person's mind got so afflicted that they were able to take the lives of their parents, or maybe a spiritual being, someone, a yogi or practicing. So wow. So then, yeah, I may have done that. I could have done that past lives, and that's going to ripen unless it's purified. So that kind of thought has to be right. And then, of course, then the 10 non-virtuous actions I've done, cause others to engage in, rejoice in, engaging in. Being obscured by this karmas causes me. So now the consequences, okay, to be born as a sentient being in the hell realm, not so nice. In the animal realm, better, also not so nice. In the pleasure realm, not so nice. In irreligious countries, some countries are nice, but then being irreligious is not so nice, right? Some countries are, they're beautiful landscapes and everything, but actually, unless there's Dharma there, it's not the point, right? As a barbarian, also not so nice. Was a long-lived God, which is very, very nice, but it changes. Yeah, you live there for a very, very, very long time. I mean, it's so blissful. But then the karma ripe finishes, you see, and then all karma ripens, and there's nowhere else to go but down. With imperfect faculties, also difficult. To think even around this life, to have your body with all your faculties function. You have a hand where you can just look at it, and you can move it, and you can take what you want with it. Your eyes, you can move and see what you want. You can hear. You can. Your thinking is working well. Your speech is okay, and that is actually very, very. You think it's very temporary, because an accident can happen and take it away just like that. You're blind overnight. Deaf. You lose movement of your hands. Sometimes I went to visit people in hospital here, and I was visiting I think he was only 45, and he couldn't move anything from his neck down. Could only move eyes. Yes. So his hands, but everything was there. The sensations were there. Couldn't move, couldn't control that. So how unfortunate, So much more difficult, of course. Of course, they could meet the Dharma of possible that They could hear a teaching and have regret, and it was so much more difficult, so no chance for prostration. Very difficult to actually even to use a speech, to pronounce the words of the Buddha. So much more difficulty, right? And holding wrong views, again, one of the worst, right? Especially if you don't, thinking that karma doesn't have any effect, karma doesn't exist, even thinking that enlightened beings don't exist, there's no way to purify, there's no way to become an enlightened being, there's no purity like that. This is only this life, this mind, end of this life, you're gone, nothing else exists. Things like this, then difficult to practice, right? Or not being pleased with the Buddha's descent. In the presence of the Buddha Bhagavans who are transcendental wisdom, or eyes, or witnesses, who are valid, and sweet omniscient consciousness. I admit and confess all these negativities. So here's so you remember, there's regret here, in the prayer. So we do, there's regret before we start the practice, as you say the names, we prostrate, and all the way through, actually, we're doing the prostration. And here now, again, admit and confess them, openly confess them. I don't conceal nor hide them. From now on, in the future, I'll abstain and refrain from committing them again. So here's the restraint, the other opponent power, right? And then, all Buddha Bhagavans, pay attention to be in this life and other states of rebirth which have circled in samsara from beginningless lives, what roots of virtue have created by generosity. So here gives hope. Here's now looking at karma, but now in a positive way. So think, now whatever little, acts of virtue you have done, like giving food even to an animal, like giving to your pets, etc. That, it's small, but if you, especially with done with bodhicitta, has a huge potential. You give some food, like Rinpoche is talking this quite often. You give it a food, you say, okay, by this act of giving, let me have a little bit of food, but by this act of giving, may create the causes for me to complete the perfect generosity, achieve enlightenment. And one day I can give you the perfect enlightened teachings. I can really bring you to full enlightenment. At the moment, I can only sustain you with food, but maybe give you the food of Dharma. And through the practice of this giving, this perfection of giving, may I complete the practices to enlightenment. So that becomes a huge, that merit will go all the way up to enlightenment, see. What are roots of virtue created by guarding moralities, guarding pure ethics, abstaining from the limit. Of course, some of you have taken the 5 lay vows, etc., but the least to abstain from the 10 non-virtues, to engage in the 10 virtue sections. What are the roots of virtue created by following pure conduct? Here, this is talking about patience. So again, patience and the 4 immeasurables. That stops us. The loving kindness stops us from getting angry, getting upset, getting hurt with people. So pure conduct. What are the roots of virtue created by fully ripening sentient beings? What are the roots of virtue created by generating bodhicitta? What are the roots of virtue created by unsurpassed transcendental wisdom? So here's the selflessness. So even if it's just whatever understanding we have of emptiness, of how the self doesn't exist in the way we think it exists, we grasp it as something solid, permanent here within our body and mind. So it's not like that. So we do it by going through analysis and checking if it was like that, what's the consequences, Where is this thing that we're grasping onto looking like that solid entity? And not only the self, but all the phenomena around us. We seem to think they exist really like that out there from their side, objectively. That enemy is really a true enemy. That friend and best friend is a really true best friend. They will never change like that. From their own side, it's there. All these assembled and gathered, combined together. Together means our own merits, and combined together means now not only our own merits, but we mix it with all the merits of all the sentient beings. I fully dedicate to the unsurpassed, the unexcelled. The unsurpassed is talking about the form bodies we want to achieve. So remember, I don't know if some of you have studied what enlightenment means. Having the enlightened mind, we call the transcendental wisdom, realizing emptiness, right? The perfect way. No one can see it, right? So that's the unextolled, the truth body. It's a mind completely pure. to benefit beings, we need to manifest because they have to see us. So there's two sorts of bodies we can take. One is called the enjoyment body, which only really pure beings can see, and then one is called the emanation body, the Manakaya. Yeah? So the historical Buddha that came was what we call the supreme emanation body, supreme Manakaya. Right? So unsurpassed is talking about the form bodies we want to achieve to benefit others, and the truth body, unexcelled, is our Dharmakaya mind, our wisdom realizing emptiness. So then that higher than the higher, so that's specifically talking about the enjoyment body, and that superior to superior, that's talking about the emanation body. So that's what you want to achieve to help others. Thus, I completely dedicate to your highest, perfectly complete enlightenment. Just as the past Buddha Bhagavans are fully dedicated, just the future Buddha Bhagavans will fully dedicate, just the present Yavadian Buddha Bhagavans are fully dedicating, like that I do dedicate fully. Then there's a kind of a brief 7 limbs. I confess all negative actions individually. I rejoice in all merits. I urge and request all the Buddhas. So confession is a kind of a direct antidote to all the negativities from all the karmas we've done through our 3 poisonous minds. Rejoicing is an opponent to jealousy. And then urge means I kind of please please teach, and please I request all the Buddhas to stay on as long as you can, to keep teaching. So may I achieve the supreme, holy, peerless, transcendental wisdom. To the conquerors, best of humans, who are living in the present time, who lived in the past, and will likewise come, all those with qualities are vast as an infinite ocean, with hands folded, I approach for refuge. So again, at the end, it's again wishing for protection. So again, think of refuge meaning causal refuge, and the resultant refuge, what you want to become yourself. Please help me, protect me to become like that. So that's the prayer. And then there's a general confession, but we can do that later in the actual prayer time. So then, how to do the actual physical prostrations? Some of you, we have time. So some of you know how the physical prostration is done, right? So I'll give you a little bit of recap. So normally, Lama Zopa recommends put the thumbs inside the palms like this. Yeah? So imagine we're holding a precious jewel in our hands. And remember also we need the method side and the wisdom side. The method's all the perfections, including bodhicitta, and this is the wisdom side, realizing selfnesses of persons and phenomena. We need both to become fully enlightened. Then we take, so of course, Rich will say, visualize all the Buddhas in front of you, they're there. So you stand. Yeah. So maybe at the moment, because it's going to be difficult for me to, in the practice time, just prostrate and be on the screen. But maybe I'll turn my screen, I'll show you 1 or 2 prostrations. So maybe in the practice number, what I like to do is actually just first time we just visualize. Okay, we all sit and say 1 time all the names and we'll visualize. And I will tell you each Buddha's name and what is actually supposed to be purifying, because each Buddha has kind of a specific number of millions and millions of years of negative karma that is purifying. It's mind-boggling, basically. But just think how many millions of years I've done that negative karma that's been purified. And then some Buddhas are particularly purifying certain negativity done with certain afflictions like pride or jealousy or anger, something like that, or towards a certain object. Right? So what is good to do? Put your hands like this. First at your heart, then visualize around you are all your kind of past lives. So it gets a bit crowded. And I think, of course, in human form, because it's difficult and it's hard to imagine a crocodile with like this, all human life. Right? Then think, oh my gosh, all the things I may have done, all the things I've done as animals, humans, how we go as spirits, giving harm to others, that kind of stuff. So we should also say now, visualize your body be extremely tall. So you do now use your mind a little bit, be creative. Right? And having many heads. So each of those heads now have a mouth. Right? So you recite the names. You imagine all those heads are reciting the names. It's a bit freaky to visualize, but try to do it, because that's what's going to bring all the merit to the purification. Okay. So then you try to put your hands to the crown. So here we do it especially here because we would like to have the form body of the Buddha, which has this ushnisha. It's called. It's so it's actually a protrusion of the head. Actually, it's not. Some people think it's like a hair knot or something. It's not. Like some paintings you see, it looks like a hair knot. It's actually a protrusion of the Buddha's head, and it's supposed to be a quality we're trying to achieve, right? The form body. Put it there. Then we put it here. We think of all the negativities of our body we've created, touching to the forehead, then to our throat, all the negativities we created through our speech, and the heart, all the negativities created through our mind. So you can think, when you touch the forehead, throat, and here the mind. So all the negatives done with the body towards what objects? Especially imagine to our teachers, we've hurt them some way. In a speech, we said things to them that's unkind, with our mind having kind of non-faith and not wishing to give them up. So sometimes, that's the worst karma is towards the spiritual teachers. Then, of course, other negative karmas you've created towards different objects, to your parents, to other beings, your friends or colleagues or anybody else you've hurt in some way. So you think of many ways you've hurt people and think they're blocking you. These negatives are blocking you for benefiting all sentient beings. Then we go down. Then you actually put your body down physically. So there's a short version and there's the full version. The short version, you just go on your knees and you kind of put your forehead just to the ground. The long version, you actually go all the way down, so your whole body is spread out, and you touch your forehead. You stretch your arms. So they say, Richard says, it's better to cover as many atoms of your body covers the earth. That much more merit is accumulated. Right? So that's why he spread like his fingers out. Sometimes you see Richard's feet also go out backwards, like as much as you can. So actually, the taller you are physically now in this life, that much more purification merit you create. So actually, you can actually visualize that. So you may be not very big, but visualize you're taller. So again, with the many heads if you can. I find that a bit complicated, but if you can, try to do that. With the many mouths and reciting the names again and again. And you go down. So there's a particular way also, when you go down, you don't stay very long because you're trying to benefit beings. You want to help them get out of samsara. So you get up as quickly as possible, right? And how do you get up is also very important. You don't get up with your fingers spread out. You don't get up like this, pushing on the ground like this. So you get up, try to get up as beautifully, as neatly as possible with your fingers together, palms flat. You push yourself up. And also when you get up, what happens if you're doing quite a lot, because you do quite quickly, the body becomes bent over after each one. You get up and the body's kind of bent. So you try and remind yourself to keep the back straight as you come fully up. Then do the touch the 4 points again and go down again. Come back up straight, go down again, like that. Okay. So of course it's good to visualize. It's a lot to do for the mind. Yeah, this is like this is mindfulness at the peak. You're mindful of the presence of the Buddhas in front of you, 35 Buddhas in front of you. How kind. But also, you mix the mind with these are 35 Buddhas, Buddha Shakyamuni, but this is in essence, if you have your root guru, when it's Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, in essence, the minds are the same, and they've manifested now like the rays of the sun. You see, like when this light comes, you get the rays coming out. You see, so in the Buddha's mind is now manifesting these 35 Buddhas for you. Yeah. So in fact, your guru is manifesting for you these 35 Buddhas. In essence, the same. And then with this intense faith, you know, so again, you know, the mindfulness on this, the presence of Buddhas, the presence of your guru, then generating, you know, refuge, yeah. Then regret. So regret is a mental factor a factor of our mind, which can it's neutral in terms that it can be it's variable in terms that it can be positive or negative, right? So here it's a positive one because you're trying to think of all the negative things you've done, and because there's a regret also where you think, oh, I should have said that thing to that person, really told that person off, and that's not very good regret, right? It's another, because the regret is saying, oh my god, I shouldn't have done that. So then, with that regret, so like there's the mindfulness, the Buddha's in front of you, the presence of the guru. Yeah, if refuge comes in, regret comes in, then yourself, yeah, with all the physical posture, yeah, and all the beings around you who were your past lives, yeah, all the accumulation of negativity we must have accumulated, and then we go down. So again, also with bodhicitta, right? I'm going down to prostrate so I can clean up my negativities. I'm going to clean up my act so I can get on with my life as a bodhisattva to benefit beings by purifying my mind and getting all the realizations, getting all the merit, to accumulate the merit to get those form bodies, the form bodies that we talked about, enjoyment body, emanation body, to help sentient beings. I need to get them. So again, it's not like it's not grasping. It's just it's a fact that that's what we need. That's what we need to benefit beings, right? So we try and do it. So that bodhicitta mind, we go down with each prostration as gently, as beautifully as possible, perfectly go down. So sometimes people just put their hands out. Sometimes people put their hands to their head as they touch the ground with the forehead, and you get up again, perfectly beautiful, straight. Yeah. And of course, as you go down and you touch your forehead, you could think that particular Buddha you just said the name of, a replica dissolves into you, into your crown, and you get up like feeling light, like the thing you were, especially if you're a certain calm you're trying to purify that's really heavy on your mind, you think that's purified, and you get up feeling much lighter. Yeah. And thinking, yes, you know, I must leave samsara as quickly as possible to benefit sentient beings. To get up as quickly as possible. You go down again, you get up again. So there's many different things you can think. You know, you think, this is, you know, how kind my guru is to manifest in this way. Because sometimes if you're doing, especially a preliminary, the mind will get bored. Just you have to invent new ways. Why am I doing the prostration? What is for? And how to get that motivation going, get inspired again to benefit beings by doing this. And then at the end, you of course you can prostrate all the way to the confession prayer, and then you stop and you kneel down. Normally kneel down or sit down for the general confession, and you go through that general confession, the different types of negativities we may have created against our parents, against our gurus, our Vajra brothers and sisters, the Sangha members, all the levels of different vows we have taken. And again, they will have consequences unless they're purified. Right? So, to think like that. So it's kind of a heavy thing because we think, wow, all that stuff is going to ripen, but it's not to be in that heavy kind of guilt feeling. You have that hope that this is working. This particular Buddha is purifying this other Buddha is purifying this, and I've kind of let go of that. That's been purified. You get up, think, wow, and you rejoice. I've done it. Now that bit's over. So as they say, there are signs of this working. Is that especially if you're doing preliminaries, you're doing very well. There'll be things like vomiting bad food, or eating yogurt, and similar things that you see in the Vajrasattva practice that will happen. So that's certain signs that it's actually working for you. Okay. So that's it. So I think after your lunch, I think your lunchtime, yeah, we can start to do the actual practice. My idea is to go to the motivation, like Rinpoche has advised. Then recite the names, maybe all together the first time. Yeah, seated down. And then the second time, the third time, maybe some of you who know the practice or want to now experiment with the actual full length prostration, you can do it, start to do it. Yeah, do it slowly, don't break your back or knees and stuff, because it's pretty physically, it's kind of quite demanding on the knees and the shoulders. So there are some ways to, you could say cheating, but some ways to get around that. You can put some cushions and mats. So I prefer now to slide because I have some knee problems. So these days I'm sliding more than before. So, but the sliding ones is a bit more taxing on the back and the front of the body. But I'll show you the different methods maybe after the break. Okay. So maybe anyone has questions. Maybe you can go through now. We've got 10 minutes before. Or maybe a bit daunting, right? Some new people.
I have a question. Oh, please.
Yeah.
Actually, no, go ahead, Patrick.
No, sorry.
I saw
Who was-
Patrick.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen images of the 35 confession Buddhas all holding, in their hand gestures, all holding different implements.
Yes. Yes, it exists. That's right. So if you can do that, amazing, wonderful. There is an elaborate way of visualizing that. So you would visualize the Buddha in front, and the 35 Buddhas are in different directions, and each one is holding different implements in different colors. But if you're getting used to that, very good. Yeah. But the thing is, Lama Zopa said, I think he mentioned, it could be a bit complicated. So the easier version is this, where you have this rows of Buddhas. Even that for me is quite, it takes my mind up. But it's wonderful if you can do, if that elaborate way is also very good. Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. So actually, one thing I forgot to mention, some of the details, is that the Buddha, in front, Shakyamuni Buddha, is seated on a throne. This time it's not held up by lions. Normally it's held up by snow lions. Now it's held up by, I don't know if they're snow elephants, but they're brilliant white elephants, right? And all the decorations are in like pearl oyster, beautiful white. Again, to kind of enhance the idea of purity, the whiteness, yeah. And all the Buddhas also, the 35 Buddhas, each of them is also seated on thrones held up by white elephants and all decorated with pearls. So it's kind of white, everything's white. Yeah. Charming.
I had a quick question, Venerable Gendun. When you were talking about the completed karmic action, you talked about the 4 points, and then after that, you were talking about karma. So I think you were talking about results similar to the cause, results similar to the action, environmental karma. I missed the other one. I only got 3, not 4. And I think, yeah.
For results, no? Yes, it's a fully ripened result. And then what we call the result if we get born as a human again, right? Then we have 2, it's subdivided into 2. So one that we get the result that we did before, right? And then the other one is that we have the tendency to do the action again. And the fourth one is the environmental karma. So that's the results. Okay, so you're talking about the 4 for the completion, is it?
No,
Yes.
I was asking about the results. I was asking, I'm trying to remember what it's called when the result of how people see you, how they experience you.
Yeah, that's the experience. That's probably for the environmental. It can be also right, like for example, if you've stolen or something, then things might get stolen from you. If you've lied, you can have the experience of people cheating you, right? That's the experience that you're going to have to experience, right? Yeah. And also, for the environmental karma, it's more like kind of the actual place you're born into, how rough it is, the actual physical experience. Like that. Okay. I think it's not that.
I think Susie has a question.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the teachings.
Thank you.
once you have purified something,
Mm.
I've got echo here. Does that mean that it's purified forever? Or is it something that you have to keep purifying every day?
No, it's purified for good. It's really purified for good. That particular one is purified for good. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
The thing is, because there's such a rainfall of activities around it. You know, we've done something similar to that, for lifetimes, right? But that particular one may have been, purified forever. But there's variations of it, that could have been done. That has been purified. That has been purified. Yeah. But normally, yeah, that's been purified completely. Yes.
okay, thank you.
This is a wonderful thing, you see, especially in this tradition, that there's no negative karma that cannot be purified, you see. Especially when you go in the tantric section, everything can be purified, you see. So some of the lower vehicles wouldn't say that. You see, they say, well, some things which are impossible. So they say that if you commit one of the 5 heinous crimes in this life, right, you won't be able to reach like the path of seeing, wisdom, rising, emptiness, all these kind of things. You won't have any possibility for that. So here in the Mahayana, we say, no, even that can be purified. You see, that's why it's so powerful. A lot of hope. So yeah, this practice gives a lot of energy and practice, and sometimes also in retreat, because well, why can't we meditating on this and it's not working, and so maybe you've already studied it before, you're meditating on it, but somehow it's not going well, and then when you start to do the Dharma Buddhas, the practices, then things start to shift again. So because there's very slight obstacles in our practices, that's why a lot of time we can't get the results what we want to happen.
And again, could I ask one more question?
Mm.
Do you talk? I know His Holiness has made the point that in the West we tend to have lower self-esteem,
Mm.
that have more psychological issues, dealing with trauma and all of that kind of stuff. And so for me, things like 35 Buddhas could be such a good antidote to working with a mind that's traumatized or a mind that's struggling with psychological issues. Could you just speak a little bit to how we could activate that in the practice kind of really directly?
Yeah, so let's see, like what's the what so for example, in the beginning I said, when you take refuge, how do these beings get to that state? Because they weren't spontaneously born like that. They did a lot of work, so we have that same potential, you see. So because all these negativities, etc., we accumulated came from our mind, right? And we call it afflictions or disturbing minds, they're not always with us, right? We know that for a fact. We're not always angry. We're not always full of desire or jealousy or something. They come and go, right? Depending on the factors around us and how much we feed those minds. Right? So we have to take control, right? We have to take control and try to put the antidote. And we get to touch a little bit of what we call the Buddha potential, the fact that we have this pure nature actually within us. We have like an innate goodness within us, really. So that can be increased slowly just by thinking, well, all these negative things are, is coming up, like almost like part of my mind, like almost inherently within my mind. It's not always there. It's not so strong actually. I can actually get to a better side of me. Yeah, that gives us this amazing hope. It's just we have to do it ourselves. We have to do that work ourselves because it is there. This kind of innate goodness. I think it's been proven now. The scientists they're doing this test. I think I was seeing this thing, neuroscience, and someone was talking how children are, instinctively drawn towards, you know, um, I mean, under experiments are done. The children, or even babies, like 6 months old, 6 months, they're drawn to beings who are kind. They instinctively know what kindness is, right? That's what they appreciate. And like for example, they see a play or a little part of a film that shows aggression, they try to look away from it. They monitor the eyes, and the eyes are actually trying to stay away from looking at this thing. So that we have that goodness within us. So we have to nurture it. I think that's possible. This practice also helps because it shows us, it gives us that hope that we're not always under the control of these, afflictions all the time. So we have this mindfulness to kind of monitor our minds are going, when our minds start to feed the negative aspects of ourselves, which isn't true, you see, because all the negative aspects are basically wrong conceptions. Oh, I'm not good enough. I will never be good enough. Oh, I can't do that because, you know, my mum told me that when I was 6, and she's true, she's right. You know, I mean, we believe that to be 100% true. And then the more we believe it, the more it becomes real for us, right? But it's not true at all. So to break that conception down, so we have to do the work, right? Of course, some people can give us the condition and say, of course, no, if you do it like this, of course you can do it. They might encourage us, but in the end, we have to do the work ourselves, right? So just like I mean, the Buddhas, of course, they're there to purify us. The purification works because the four opponent powers that kicks into action, right? That regret must be there. The refuge and bodhicitta must be there. The restraint must be there. You know, it's not like, well, yeah, now I'm gonna do this again tomorrow. I can do it again if I wouldn't. It's not like that. You know, I must restrain as much as I can. I know that the consequences will happen like this. You have this belief in yourself that you can do it. See? It's like maybe like an addict trying to give up his thing, and you must really, really want to give up. Really want to give up. Then it works. Right? To make it out.
Sometimes in the Gendun, it seems like the purification practices are are a little bit externally focused. What I've done to harm other people.
Mm-hmm.
Not as focused on the harm that we do to ourselves by speaking so harshly and critically.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. So we have to kind of stop. Yes, sometimes you can in the purification maybe we can stop and do that. You know, try to note. So again, this is mindfulness. Yeah, check the mind when it starts to play that tape. Yeah, and see that isn't going to help me. That definitely doesn't help me. Why? Because the consequence you go down. It's a spiral, right? The more you play that tape and the more you identify with that voice, the more we go down. So we have to use that thing. So, well, that's not me. It doesn't have to. I don't have to think like that. You know, I can think. So we have the choice. You see, we can think another way. But the thing is, the trick is to catch it and turn the mind to think another way. So that means giving like power to your to the what we call it, the purity in us. You know, we have the patience. We have a giving mind. We are more loving. So again, loving to ourselves. You know, what's loving ourselves? When we say loving ourselves means I want to be more peaceful. Basically, how to be more peaceful? I need to have more positive states of minds. How to do that? To train in it, and to know what this positive state. What's patience? Patience, the mind can endure difficulties. What's loving kindness? It's a mind that wishes happiness for others. To know, you know, what kind of mind and how to put energy into that particular state of mind. So of course, loving kindness to ourselves means I don't want to have those negative thoughts going around in my head again and again and again. Right? So we have to take control. See how to stop it. So that's not going to help me. I must find another way. Think of another way, you know, that can somehow trigger it to go towards the positive side. That's the only way. I mean, of course, we can ask all the Buddhas to help us, bless us, please help me. Kind of, say, be mindful when that thought start playing in our heads, and then catch it. Yeah, because often we don't catch it. Right? Then it starts to play and it goes on. That's never ending. Yeah. It's true though. Yeah, we do a lot of harm to us. In that way, we do a lot of harm to ourselves. Actually. Especially after we've done some. Especially now when you're Buddhist, you're, oh my gosh, it's going to be such a consequence. Oh no. It's a huge nightmare of how much suffering you're going to have. You get angry at being angry and angry having done such an action. So it's just see it as a mistake. Just say, wow, I messed up again. You know? Not kind of beating ourselves up. Okay, right. Now let's see what I can do about it. How can I change it next time it happens? You know? This is using mindfulness, introspection, you know, and conscientiousness. Yeah, and vigilant.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
if there are no more questions, then we could break for lunch then. We could have a little break. And I think we're supposed to be back here in 1 hour. 12:30.
Okay, so 8:30 my time. Okay. Okay, thank you. Please come back with a full, fresh body, and I don't know if you have a yoga mat or something or to prostrate on. If you don't want to prostrate, it's okay. We can just say it, you just visualize prostrating, okay? But for those who want to, I'll show you how to do the prostration. Janju Samjo Rinpoche, Magia Bana Keka, Chekewane, Meba, Yam Gone Gundu, Belwa, Shu. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Here we go. So, see if you can see my floor. Can you see my floor? Yes. You may not be able to see all of me when I stand up. But yeah. So it's like this, okay?
For those of you newly back, Venerable Gendun is going to demonstrate a prostration.
Normally, it's a short prostration, okay? Hands together. Like you're holding a jewel in the hand. Think of the method side, bodhicitta, wisdom side. Wisdom lies in selflessness. You need both to achieve enlightenment. Okay? And of course, your body as tall as possible. You can dissolve all your past bodies in human form around you, and the Buddha's in front of you. You put your hands to your crown. You were wishing to achieve the Ushisha, crown for Krishna the Buddha, at the forehead and throat out. And you just go down like this, okay? Touch. And come up. Buddha. Get all your impurities or negatives of body and speech. Second time. Mind. Out. Beautiful. Of course, as you're doing many prostrations ready for Buddhas, it's all the negativities you're thinking of, you're trying to purify. Okay. So that's the short version, and here's the long version. So try and keep it together. Body upright. Same thing, touching the 4 places. This time, I'm going to slide. So I'm using these 2 things to slide on the ground. And just slide. Bring your hands up, touch forward, back. And you push back up, back, not like this, not like that. Okay? Push up. Straight up. Okay. Slide. Another version is without the sliding. Do the same thing, 4 places. You go down and you go across. Again, keep your hands flat. Okay. Wait. My headphones back on. Okay. Did you see it?
We could see you, but we couldn't see your head.
Oh, okay.
You go down and
Okay,
then
okay.
you do the.
All right. So normally the head bit's like you put your head to the right, you put your hands here, okay, to the top. Oh, I don't know. Did you see my feet? The feet should also go back. The feet should point back. So you're going to stretch as much as you can your whole body. Okay, like that. So there's a short version, and I'll show you the sliding version, which is quite good. Which is for people with knee trouble, it's quite good. But for your back trouble, it's not so good. So you have to check out which is better for you. Okay, it's a really good workout. It's a Buddhist workout. It's quite a good gym. It's good because it works the whole body. You know, the legs, the back, everything, shoulders. Yeah. Yeah. And some people even if you see the Tibetans, they put their arms out like this and go. So you work with your shoulder. But I'm not used to that, so I just go straight across. You know. Yeah. And then of course you try and get up as quickly as possible. Yeah. And try to be the gesture very beautifully, very mindfully. Yeah, like you may see, of course, you may see Tibetans like in maybe in Kathmandu, Bodhanath or whatever, in Bodh Gaya, very fast, you know. And sometimes not even straight in their back, or you know, not probably touching the 4 places. That's okay. That's their thing. Yeah. So we try and follow what Rinpoche has given us as his advice. We try and do as well as we can what he's advised us to do. And you don't go around criticizing. Oh, hey, you're not getting up. Don't do that. Just for yourself. When you get up, you be careful with your hands, etc. Just so you know that Rinpoche has told us. Actually, this isn't from Rinpoche. I think Rinpoche mentioned it's from His Holiness. He gave a teaching one time. I'm not sure, maybe Dharma sort of guy, and it came from there. Actually, so Rinpoche advised us in that way. Okay. So what else? Yes. So I want to go through the. You know, sometimes it's good to go through the negative karmas. I know it's heavy, but because otherwise it's still to know what we're getting ourselves into. You know, if we don't purify, this is what can happen to us. Right? So,
And
the
again,
results.
sorry,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I apologize. I have a couple of people telling me they're having just a slight trouble hearing you.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any adjustments.
Maybe it's a connection or
Maybe volume. Yeah, it just sounds
volume.
like here.
Okay, like this. Clear.
That sounds good to me.
Okay. So let's see. You know, from the 10 non-virtues are kind of a condensed version of what negativities we can produce. Right? So once you've done them with all the 4 factors, remember the 4 factors, yeah? It's complete. So unless it's purified, it will definitely bring a result. Why? Because that's how karma works. Remember the 4 factors of karma? Like karma is definite, yeah? Meaning a negative action will definitely bring a suffering result. A positive action will also definitely bring a happy result. That's great, you know. That's why I'm just mentioning things like offering just 1 flower in front of a statue or stupa. It's tiny, even without motivation, because of the power of the object. Amazing amount of karma is created and it multiplies, you see. So the second factor of karma, yeah, remember, the second factor is that whatever, positive or negative, increases, right? So this is another thing, yeah, that makes us want to purify. We may have think, well, it wasn't such a big deal, it's just a tiny mosquito, you know, it's bothering me. But that thing of taking that mosquito's life with all the 4 factors is increasing constantly unless it's purified, right? And that brings us these heavy results in our future lives, okay? And then think that also, you know, one aspect of karma is even though it was done many, like lifetimes ago, but even this life, you may think, oh, I was a child then, I really didn't know what I was doing, Yeah, it's not such a heavy thing, but it is actually, because you did it, the 4 factors were there, right? And so there, you know, that's in our mind stream, and that will definitely bring a result. Just because of time doesn't mean it gets lost, you see. That's one thing to remember, yeah. That's why we do these practices, you know. It could be lifetimes ago we did these things, but they will definitely bring a result, right? So I mean, it's positive and negative, yeah. Because remember, you know, going to lower realms, etc., in the Buddhist concept is not forever. Of course, it's a long time, because once you're there, you produce more kind of negativities and you're going to stay there. But there's always positive karma that we have created that will bring us up, yeah, bring us out into human realms. And that's when we may have to go through the other results, you know, results similar to the course. So, for example, we have to experience something that we've done, like the action we did, then the actual tendency to do again. You know, that's always there. See, that's probably the worst one, pretty much it. Okay. So I think here from killing, okay. So for, when we say the mature, the first result, the ripening result is always going to, if it's negative karma, the lower realms, okay. So from killing, there's the first ripening result, lower realms. The results similar to the cause. So there's experience similar to the cause and action similar to the cause. So experience similar to the cause. So later in a human birth, we'll have a short life, ill health, many troubles, sicknesses, etc., and no success in activities. Actions similar to the cause, you will have the habitual desire to kill and harm others. The environmental result is taking birth in a place where there is much violence, war, problems, where food, drink, and medicine have little power. And from stealing, right? So again, the immediate result is rebirth in the after death, it's rebirth in the lower realms. Having been born a human again, the experience similar to the cause, lack of wealth, possessions and resources, you can't get very easily. The things you have can be stolen or lost. An action similar to the cause, you will have an instinctive tendency to steal again. And then the environmental result, where we were actually born, taking birth in a barren place where crops don't grow or destroyed easily, and the shortage of food and different frosts, hail, etc. And even whatever business ventures, whatever projects you have, they won't succeed. Sexual misconduct. Again, ripening result, lower realms. You come back up as a human. Experience similar to the cause. You'll be unable to keep relationships with and will quickly separate from your spouse, family, friends, students, colleagues. Actions similar to the cause. You have the tendency to be unfaithful. So you repeat the sexual misconduct again. The environmental result, having to live in a dirty place. It says muddy, but dirty. Then the speech karma. So from lying, again, ripening result, lower realms. Then experience similar to the cause. Others do not believe you, even when you tell the truth. Actions similar to the cause, having the tendency to deceive again. The environmental result, having to live amongst people who cheat, and you can't find anyone you can trust. Then divisive speech. So again, ripening result, the hell, the lower realms. Lower realms could be hell, animal, predator, depending on the weight of the karma. The heavier the karma, the lower the realm. Okay, if and when you come back up, experience similar to the cause, being lonely, having a few friends, followers or employees or colleagues having difficulty developing good relationships with them. Actions similar cause, again, having the tendency to cause disunity. Then the environmental cause, having to have a result, having to live in a rugged, uneven, inhospitable environment where communication is difficult. Then harsh speech, so insulting words, like really harsh. So again, can be the three poisons: attachment, anger, or ignorance. No, ignorance, thinking, oh, it's not such a big deal. May even help that person if I speak like this to them. So then results similar to the cause. So just again, two aspects. His experience is similar to the cause. So others will abuse you. Even when you speak pleasantly, they will interpret to understand it's negative. Actions that are similar to the cause, having the tendency to be critical and hurtful. So it comes automatically. The environmental result, having to live in a place where there are many trees, brambles, nettles, sharp rocks, thorns. It's a very desolate place. Then there's idle gossip. Okay, the fourth, the last of the speech karma. Again, rebirth in the lower realm, coming back as a human, experience similar to the cause. Others will not take your speech seriously or listen to what you have to say. Actions similar to the cause, having the tendency to talk continuously and fill any quiet moment with the sound of your voice. The environmental result, having to live in a place where crops do not grow properly, rain falls at the wrong time, and activity is not successful. Then there's 3 of the mind. So again, we can create karma with the mind, and that's completed when we kind of think. Remember, say you want something, you really desire to have something, and it's like the mind of doesn't have contentment. I want this, and I want it now. So you're thinking many ways to get it. Tomorrow I'm going to go in. So of course it could be through stealing, it could be buying it yourself, but still the mind craving to have this object, your happiness, right? So as soon as the mind thinks there's the object out there, desire attachment comes, and the mind thinks, I want it. Tomorrow I'm going to go and buy it with this kind of strong craving for it to be mine, to make it mine. That's when covetousness comes in here. So in anger, it's like I'm going to say something. The decision comes. I'm going to do this, say this to that person tomorrow, tonight. That's the harmful intent created. Full factors. Okay. So covetousness again. Can we go to lower realms for this? Yeah. Experience similar to the cause. You'll be unable to achieve your aims, get what you want. Actions similar to the cause, being continuously dissatisfied and grasping, attachment increases. The environment that you can be born into, having to live in a place where the crops are poor and material resources are easily destroyed or lost. The harmful intent, again rebirth lower realms, experience similar to the cause. The person who easily becomes frightened and panicky. Like easily, the mind is kind of in this fear all the time. Actions similar to the cause, having the tendency to hurt others, your anger and hatred increase. In the environment you can be born into is to live in a violent place where there is war and contagious diseases. The wrong views, which is the worst of the mental karmas, yeah. So results similar to the cause. One first is experience. So you being ignorant of correct views and finding it difficult to develop realizations and correct understanding. Actions similar to the cause, having the tendency to draw wrong conclusions again and again, your ignorance will increase. The environmental result, having to live in a place where there are shortages of water and other resources such as food. There are no precious things such as treasures, works of art, scriptures, spiritual guides. Spiritual guides is important. Yeah, so that's it. So imagine that, that's the result of having done all these things, They're born into we call it barbaric region. There are no spiritual teachers, born into incredible environments of war, and there's no way to get out of it. Some people have that karma for a while and can, because karma changes, the environmental karma can change and they can leave. Some not. That's their karma their whole life, and get abused, kind of things happening. So do we want that? Do we really want to experience those things? Like, oh, yes, please. Yeah. Of course, if you're a high-level bodhisattva, fantastic, yeah, because I'm purifying quickly. But no, a lot of the time, no thanks, So it's okay. What can we do? That's it. 35 Buddhas. We can do this practice very easy. Just say the names. If you can't physically do it, put your hands together hard. Visualize as best that you can the Buddhas in front of you. Generate that strong faith, regret, and say the names. Imagine white nectar coming, white light coming, and purifying you. Then the confession at the end. So you can think of all these 10 non-virtues, all the consequences that they bring, because that's what we don't want, right? And we do the practice again and again and again. Because of our past, you can't just one time, so well, it's done, clear. No, it's not so easy because for so many lives we've created these karmas and they're festering within us, it's like a little chip within us. We just don't know when it's going to ripen. And suddenly cancer comes, suddenly accidents, suddenly this, suddenly that, suddenly we lose our wealth or something, Even this human life, there can be obstacles for us to practice, right? So it's not more like me, I don't want that. It's more like if I get those, it's going to block me from helping others, So again, the bodhicitta must kick in again, Like that. So let's try and slowly do this practice, okay? So I thought maybe to read out the prayer once, or we're all sitting, visualizing in front, because it takes a lot, you know, I mean, the mind gets full of things to do, right? So there must be the four powers working. Yeah, remember the four powers: the reliance, refuge, bodhicitta. Remedy is actually saying the prayer. There has to be regret, of course, before, and the regret comes in the actual prayer as well at the end. So all these must be there. That's the strength. That's when purification happens, and we can say, yes, that one, you know, we purified those levels of actions. You see, depends on the strength of the four powers, right? So let's recite it slowly, visualizing, and I will go through each Buddha, because each Buddha has a certain amount of eons or millions of years of karma that has to be that can be purified, and then Charmaine will actually say, she will say the names, and we can do the physical prostrations. Okay. Those who want to do physical prostrations don't have to do. Okay, right, so let's read the motivation, yes, in the beginning. That's right. So just calm the mind a little bit, straighten the body. You can take your attention to the breath for a while. Okay, so let's think. Purpose of my life is to free the numberless sentient beings for the source of all my past, present, and future happiness, temporary as well as ultimate happiness, including the realization of the path, liberation from samsara, and enlightenment. So think, why is that? So depending on all these sentient beings, you know, we can practice ethics, we can practice generosity, we can practice patience. So from all the oceans of samsaric suffering, including the causes, the delusion and karma, that's what brings, you know, us, all sentient beings, into samsara. So each of us, of course, we have samsara, the environment. Samsara is also what we call having to take continuously our aggregates, you know, body and mind contaminated due to karma and afflictions. So in order to do this, I must achieve full enlightenment. And therefore, I need to actualize the path. And therefore, I need to purify defilements. If I were now to be born in hell, it would be so unbearable. Even one tiny fire spark on my body is hundreds of thousands of times hotter than the whole entire fire energy in this world. It's so unbearable that experiencing it for even an instant is like suffering for many eons. I have created numberless causes to be born in the hell realms by creating the 10 non-virtuous actions countless times in this and beginningless lives. I have created numberless causes to be born in the hell realms, breaking the pratimoksha vows, breaking the bodhisattva vows, by breaking the tantric vows countless times in this and beginningless past lives. And I have created numberless cause is to be born in the hells by creating the heaviest negative karma in relation to the holy virtuous friend, by harming the holy body, disobeying the advice, disturbing the holy mind, and having non-devotional thoughts, and giving rise to heresy and anger, which produce the greatest obstacles to achieving realizations and create the greatest suffering. So if this is difficult to relate to, then think just being human many times and have to go through different sicknesses, cancer, then go to poverty, going through all kinds of suffering that the humans have to go through again and again. So every single one of these negative actions has 4 suffering results. The ripening result, rebirth in the lower realms. The possessed result, the type of environment I'm born into when again human. The result similar to the cause in my experience, and the worst one, the result similar to the cause in my actions. Which means that again and again I'm driven to create the same negative actions in the future. And so again and again I have to experience the 4 suffering results. In this way, samsara has no end. So not only that, but karma increases, so even a small negative action can have huge suffering results. And karma is definite to be experienced, so every negative action I have created will definitely bring us result, no matter how long it takes, until it is purified. So from one negative karma, I have to experience the result over and over again for so many hundreds of lifetimes. Understanding this, how can I stand to live life without purifying myself and getting rid of all these negative karmas, just as I would try to get rid of deadly poison in my body? So think how much effort in this life we go to effort in terms of taking care of our physical well-being, eating proper food, doing proper exercise, etc. Because we don't want to experience the different sicknesses later on in our life. But think, the best thing is, of course, it's important. We have to take care of ourselves. But more important is taking care of our minds. Right? Not only that, but I'm going to die, and death can come even today, at any moment. And therefore, I must purify all my negative actions right this second. In order to do that, I'm going to do these prostrations with the practice of confessing downfalls. I'm going to do this so that I can develop myself in order to work for the happiness of all sentient beings. To try and generate that bodhicitta motivation. Start with beings close to you. You receive the most kindness from. You feel instinctively this concern for them, care. And seeing how they're going to have to leave this life, go through many different experiences, different lives of suffering. How unbearable it is, how you would like to help them. The best way is to lead them to ultimate happiness, not just temporary happiness. To do that, I need to have that enlightened mind, purified, realized mind. And this practice is what I'm going to do to help me achieve that. So way up in the space in front of you, visualize your Guru in the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha with 1,000 arm Chenrezig at his heart. At the heart of Thousand Nam Chinrizi, the silver Khi. Just become aware of the presence of this being. Just like perhaps you have an interview with one of your teachers, being in the presence of this being, or even a conference with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, and you felt that presence in front of you. Beams of light are emitted from the Khi, forming 6 rows in the space below. At the end of each beam is a throne supported by elephants adorned with pearls. On each throne is seated a Buddha. In the first row are 6 Buddhas, blue in color, in the aspect of Akshobhya, with the exception of the third Buddha, King Lord of Nagas, who has a blue-colored body but a white head. In the second row are 7 Buddhas, white in color, in the aspect of Vajrayana. In the third row are 7 Buddhas, yellow in color, with the aspect of Ratnasambhava. In the fourth row are 7 Buddhas, red in color, in the aspect of Amitabha. In the fifth row are 7 Buddhas, green in color, in the aspect of Amagasidi. So these are 35 confession Buddhas. Each one is in the posture of that particular type of Buddha. In the final row are the other 7 medicine Buddhas. Stupas, scriptures of the 3 times in the 10 directions, whose essence is the Guru. Have complete faith that each one has the power to purify all your negative karmas and imprints collected from beginningless time. So now imagine that you emanate numberless bodies, and that as you prostrate, all these bodies prostrate along with you in all directions, covering every atom of the earth. So first there are mantras to multiply whatever prostrations we're going to do now. So recommended by Rinpoche. There's a new one I don't have, but I will read it from the text. Okay. Chongbende Dejin Sheba Ra Chomba Yan Dabo Zobe Sangi Rijin Gensan Lacha. Oh, sorry, I'll do the English. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arahant, perfectly complete Buddha, previous victory banner I prostrate. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arahant, perfectly complete Buddha, previous precious victory banner I prostrate. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arahant, perfectly complete Buddha, precious victory banner I prostrate. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arahant, perfectly complete Buddha, precious victory banner I prostrate. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arahant, perfectly complete Buddha, precious victory banner I prostrate. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arahant, perfectly complete Buddha, precious victory banner I prostrate. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arahant, perfectly complete Buddha, precious victory banner I prostrate. The mantra 7 times in Sanskrit. Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyasambuddhaya Tayata Om Ratne Maharatne Ratne Vijaya Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyasambuddhaya Tayata Om Ratne Maharatne Ratne Vijaya Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyasambuddhaya Tayata Om Ratne Maharatne Ratne Vijaya Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyasambuddhaya Tayata Om Ratne Maharatne Ratne Vijaya Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyasambuddhaya Tayata Om Ratne Maharatne Ratne Vijaya Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyasambuddhaya Tayata Om Ratne Maharatne Vijaya Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasambuddhaya Tayato Om Ratne Maharatne Ratne Vijaya Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasambuddhaya Tayato Om Ratne Maharatna Vijaya. Om Manju Shri Namo Su Shri Namo Uttama Shri Su Om Namo Manju Shri Namo Su Shri Namo Uttama Shri Om Namo Manju Shri Namo Su Shri Namo Uttama Shri Su. Okay, there's another mantra we have to do. Yeah, okay. So we prostrate to the Guru, teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhan, perfectly complete Buddha, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, prostrate. Then this new mantra, Om Namo Dashadik Trikala Savaratna Trayaya Nama Pradaksha Supradaksha Savapapam Vishuddhane Swaha. Om Namo Dashadik Trikala Savaratna Trayaya Nama Pradaksha Supradaksha Savapapam Vishuddhane Swaha. Om Namo Dashadik Trikala Savaratna Trayaya Nama Pradaksha Supradaksha Savapapam Vishuddhane Swaha. Om Namo Dashadik Trikala Savaratna Trayaya Nama Pradaksha Supradaksha Sarvapapam Vishuddhani Swaha. Okay. So then take your mind to the Buddhas in front. Again, refuge, bodhicitta. And all the beings around you, previous lives. Strong regret. Think especially things this life you've done. It feels heavy on your mind. Can be purified, these four powers, by using restraint to stop engaging in that action again. I, Tenzin Gendun, at all times take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. So I, say your name, Tenzin Gendun, at all times take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. I, Tenzin Gendun, at all times take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. Now, the actual names are starting from the Buddha, the Guru, teacher, Bhagava, Tathagata, Arhan, perfectly complete Buddha, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, I prostrate. So keep your mind firmly on the Buddha in front. And first, the presence of this being, over the Kadeshvari's heart, light rays going out. So prostrate the Buddha purifies 80,000 eons of negative karma. If you can, the replica of the Buddha, an image comes into you, absorbs into you through your crown. Blessing your body, speech, and mind. Next one, the first of the row in the blue. To Tathagata, thoroughly destroying with Vajra essence, I prostrate. So here 10,000 eons of negative karma purified. Again, replica absorbs into you, blessing your body, speech, mind. To Tathagata, radiant jewel, I prostrate. Again, 10,000 eons of negative karma, the replica dissolves into you. To Tathagata, king, lord of Nagas, I prostrate. 1,000 eons of negative karma purified. To Tathagata, army of heroes, I prostrate. Again, 1,000 eons of negative karma. To Tathagata, delighted hero, I prostrate. 2,000 eons of negative karma. To Tathagata jewel fire, prostrate. Again, 2,000 eons of negative karma. Tathagata jewel moonlight, I prostrate. First of the row of the white color like Varachana. 8,000 eons of negative karma is purified. The replica dissolves into us. To Tathagata meaningful to see, I prostrate. Here only one aeon. Yes, not too bad. One aeon negative karma. Purified. The replica dissolves into us. To Tathagata jewel moon, I prostrate. So here the 5 heinous crimes are 5 heavy crimes of having killed one's mother, father, an arahant, drawing blood from the Buddha, causing a schism, Sangha, all purified. A replica that Buddha dissolves into us. To Tathagata stainless one, I prostrate. So the 5 heavy karmas close to those are purified. To Tathagata bestowed courage, I prostrate. So here our negative karma created through hatred is being purified. To Tathagata pure one, I prostrate. Negative karma is created through attachment are purified. A replica dissolves into us. To Tathagata bestow with purity, I prostrate. Here 10,000 eons of negative karma again are purified. To Tathagata water god, I prostrate. 1,000 eons are purified. To Tathagata deity of the water god, I prostrate. 5,000 eons purified. To Tathagata glorious goodness, I prostrate. Again, 5,000 eons of negative karma purified. To Tathagata glorious sandalwood, I prostrate. 7 eons of negative karma purified. A replica dissolves into us. To Tathagata infinite splendor, I prostrate. Again, 7 eons of negative karma purified. To Tathagata glorious light, I prostrate. So here's immeasurable benefits from this. To Tathagata sorrowless glory, I prostrate. So specifically negative karma through ignorance are purified. To Tathagata son of non-craving, I prostrate. So all negativities for imprints are purified. Replica dissolves into us. To Tathagata glorious flower, I prostrate. So all obscurations of body are purified. To Tathagata pure light rays, clearly known by play, I prostrate. All obscurations of speech are purified. To Tathagata lotus light rays, clearly known by play, I prostrate. So negativities of mind are purified. To Tathagata glorious wealth, I prostrate. So here specifically misuse of Sangha, a property. To Tathagata glorious mindfulness, I prostrate. Here specifically negativity of disparaging holy beings. To Tathagata glorious name, widely renowned, I prostrate. So here specifically jealousies are purified, all the negativities committed through jealousy. Tathagata king holding the victory banner foremost power, I prostrate. So here negativity is specifically connected to pride. To Tathagata glorious one, totally subduing, I prostrate. So here negativity is committed through divisive speech, purified. To Tathagata utterly victorious in battle, I prostrate. So negativity is due to all kinds of afflictions, purified. To Tathagata glorious transcendence through subduing, I prostrate. So here negativity is specifically created because we cause others to create negative actions. To Tathagata glorious manifestations illuminating all, I prostrate. So here negativity is due to rejoicing in the negativity of others. And to Tathagata also being jewel lotus, I prostrate. Here's where negativity is being purified due to abandoning Dharma. So this could be like discriminating between Mahayana, Hinayana, Vajrayana, etc. Saying this is good, this is pure teaching, this is not teaching of the Buddha. So disparaging like this, giving up the Dharma. And then to Tathagata Arahant, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate. So here, Rinpoche specifically says often 3 times, because it's related to negative is committed to against the Guru, the teacher we found, that we've kind of made a connection with. So any harmful actions we've done through body, speech and mind towards this being, some past lives, creates incredibly heavy obstacles. See? So again, that Buddha dissolves into us and purified. Okay, so now we do the same again. Go through all the 35 Buddhas. This time Charmaine will read them. And for those who want, you read with her. For those who want, who memorized, who know the names. So of course you say the names, you prostrate each one. For those who don't know the names, of course, as you listen to Charmaine, you can repeat to yourself. See, as you hear her voice. I don't know if you've got headphones, which are very cool, wireless, or you have it on the speaker system. Then you repeat after, right, and you prostrate to the Buddha. So you say the name with your own speech, and you prostrate as best as you can, and think whatever specific negativity that's you remember the most heavy for you is purified. Then think I've done similar to that in past lives, and think of other things you have done. You go through kind of a whole list of stuff which you're trying to purify, to clean up, because it's going to block you from benefiting sentient beings. It's an obstacle for you to benefit sentient beings, right? That's what it's about. Okay, Shaman, you ready?
I'm ready. I'll just go through it once and then we'll go through it another time. Is that correct?
Yeah. Let me put my speaker on, I have to hear you. Okay. So you can go from...
Is it correct on the screen, Venerable Gendun?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, from the background, Shakyamuni Buddha. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
So to the Guru, the teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, thoroughly destroying with Vajra essence, I prostrate.
Okay. Wait.
Shall I wait? I'll wait until you're ready, Venerable Gendun.
Get the screen right. Can you see me? No, you can't see me completely. Huh? Okay. You can start.
Okay, so we'll begin now. To the Guru, the teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, I prostrate. To Tathagata, thoroughly destroying with Vajra essence, I prostrate. To Tathagata, radiant jewel, I prostrate. To Tathagata, the king, lord of the Nagas, I prostrate. To Tathagata, army of heroes, I prostrate. To Tathagata, the lighted hero, I prostrate. To Tathagata, jewel fire, I prostrate. To Tathagata, meaningful to see, I prostrate. To Tathagata, jewel moon, I prostrate. Tathagata, this one, I prostrate. To Tathagata, bestowed with courage, I prostrate. To Tathagata, pure one, I prostrate. To Tathagata, bestowed with purity, I prostrate. To Tathagata, water god, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious sandalwood, I prostrate. To Tathagata, infinite splendor, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious light, I prostrate. To Tathagata, sorrowless glory, I prostrate. To Tathagata, son of non-craving, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious flower, I prostrate. To Tathagata, pure light rays, clearly knowing by play, I prostrate. To Tathagata, lotus light rays, clearly knowing by play, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious wealth, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious mindfulness, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious name, widely renowned, I prostrate. To Tathagata, king holding the victory banner of foremost power, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious one, totally subduing, I prostrate. To Tathagata, utterly victorious in battle, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious transcendence through subduing, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious manifestations, illuminating all, I prostrate. To Tathagata, all subduing, jewel lotus, I prostrate. To To Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate. To Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate. To Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate.
Great. Second time, third time. Oh, okay. Okay, so I'll do the third time, right? Okay. The Guru, teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfect, complete Buddha, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, prostrate. 80,000 eons, purified, negative karma. To Tathagata, thoroughly destroying Vajra essence, I prostrate. 10,000 eons, negative karma. To Tathagata, radiant jewel, I prostrate. Again, 10,000 eons of negative karma. Amazing. All purified. So you get up, rejoice, dedicate that merit to all sentient beings. So we can think of all sentient beings, our family members, relatives, going through all kinds of difficulties. We dedicate the merit to them, dedicate to all the beings going through difficult situations, war zones, poverty, famine. Dedicate the merit to them. We're doing this prostration for them. To Tathagata, King, Lord of Nagas, I prostrate. 1,000 eons of negative karma purified. Tathagata, armor of heroes, I prostrate. Again, 1,000 eons of negative karma purified. And all the merit from prostrating offered to all sentient beings. To Tathagata, delighted hero, I prostrate. 2,000 eons of negative karma. To Tathagata, jewel fire, I prostrate. To Tathagata, jewel moonlight, I prostrate. To Tathagata, meaningful to see, I prostrate. To Tathagata, jewel moon, I prostrate. So 5 heavy negative karmas, completely purified. I think past lives may have been under such strong. We killed our parents, mother, father, killed Arya beings, drew blood from the Buddha, wanted to hurt the Buddha, will cause a schism in the Sangha. To Tathagata, stainless one, I prostrate. To Tathagata, bestow with courage, I prostrate. So all our negativities due to hatred being purified. To Tathagata, pure one, I prostrate. All negativities due to attachment purified. To Tathagata, bestow with purity, I prostrate. 10,000 eons of negative karma purified. To Tathagata, water god, I prostrate. To Tathagata, deity of the water god, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious goodness, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious sun, I prostrate. To Tathagata, infinite splendor, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious light, I prostrate. To Tathagata, sorrowless glory, I prostrate. To Tathagata, son of non-craving, I prostrate. To Tathagata, glorious flower, I prostrate. All negativities through body you've done, killing, sexual misconduct, stealing. To Tathagata, pure light rays, clean on by play, I prostrate. All negativities of speech. So lying especially to parents, gurus, the heaviest objects. Harsh speech, devised speech, idle gossip, or meaningless talk. To Tathagata, lotus light rays, clean on by play, I prostrate. All obscurations of mind, negatives of mind, purified. To Tathagata, glorious wealth, I prostrate. Again, here, misuse of Sangha property, or quite heavy karma. Because of the object. To To Tathagata glorious mindfulness, I prostrate, disparaging holy beings. So again, particularly heavy negative karma due to the object. To Tathagata glorious name, widely renowned, I prostrate. All the actions, body and speech be done through jealousy. To Tathagata king hold and victory banner, foremost power, I prostrate. All activities, negativities done with pride, purified. To Tathagata glorious one, totally subdue, I prostrate. So all devices of speech done, this life, past lives, purified. To Tathagata utterly victorious in battle, I prostrate. So in general, all afflictions, all our negativities done due to gross afflictions. To Tathagata glorious transcendent through subduing, I prostrate. So all negativities from causing others to create negative karma. To Tathagata glorious manifestations, eliminating all, I prostrate. So rejoicing in the negativities others have done and rejoice in what they've done. To Tathagata all subdue and dual lotus, I prostrate. So here, particularly negative karma of abandoning Dharma. To Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Mountains, firmly seated on jewel lotus, I prostrate. So here, particularly negativity against teachers, our gurus, taken as our main guides. Any harm you've done to them through body, speech, and mind. To Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate. To Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate. So again, a replica of each Buddha, dissolving into us. Then 7 medicine Buddhas. To Bhagavan Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, renowned, glorious King of excellence, signs, I prostrate. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of melody of sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon and lotus, I prostrate. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, stainless excellent gold, illuminating jewel, accomplishes all conduct, I prostrate. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, glorious supreme one, free from sorrow, I prostrate. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, notion Dharma, prostrate. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, perfect complete Buddha, medicine guru, king of Sapphala, prostrate. So these 7 Buddhas, medicine Buddhas, names we recite because in all wishes, all things we want to happen will happen. Brings about all the wishes. So when these beings were bodhisattvas, they made strong prayers. So whoever says their names out loud like this, whatever they're praying for will come about. Think of all our wishes we want to go into retreat, to do more studies, to understand Dharma, to develop our minds in bodhicitta and wisdom. May it come about. The actual prayer, the confession prayer. So all you 35 Buddhas, 7 medicine Buddhas, and others. So here, reflect a bit on emptiness. You know, actually, we should have done that from the beginning, but you know, who is this I that's prostrating? Where is this kind of I here? It exists conventionally, merely labeled on the base, the body and mind. Doing the prostrations also merely labeled on this physical action, or recitation of saying the names, or the whole practice we call 35 Buddha practice. You can't find it inherently there. It's all depending on the parts, depending on the different moments of the actual practice. It's labeled the 35 Buddha practice. And then the purification, it happens conventionally and use the four abundant powers, thinking of the Buddhas in front of us. Even the Buddhas in front of us visualize also empty of kind of existing solidly there, inherently there. They came about due to their own virtues, their practices. And our karma also doesn't exist, negative karma inherently. If it exists inherently, it couldn't be purified. But it exists conventionally and due to the four opponent powers, it can be purified. So all you 35 Buddhas, 7 medicine Buddhas, and others, as many Tathagatas, arahants, perfectly complete Buddha Bhagavans, as they are abiding, living, residing in all the world systems for 10 directions. All you Buddha Bhagavans, please pay attention to me. So in this life, and all the states of rebirth in which I have circled in samsara, from beginningless lives, it's important to remember, beginningless lives. Whatever negative actions I have created, made others create or rejoice in the creation of. So whatever possessions of stupas, possessions of Sangha, or possessions of the Sangha of the 10 directions that I have appropriated, made others appropriate, rejoice in the appropriation of. Whichever among the 5 heavy negative karmas, without break, I've done, coarsely done, rejoice in the doing of. Whichever of the 10 non-virtuous paths of action I have engaged in, caused others to engage in, rejoice in engaging of. Whatever I have done, being obscured by these karmas, that causes me to be born as a sentient being in the hell realm, in the animal realm, or in the preta realm, in an irreligious country, as a barbarian, was a long-life god, with imperfect faculties, holding wrong views, not being pleased with the Buddha's descent. In the presence of the Buddha Bhagavans, who are transcendental wisdom, who are eyes, who are witnesses, who are valid, and who see with omniscient consciousness, I admit and confess all these negative actions. I do not conceal them nor hide them. From now on, in the future, I will abstain and refrain from committing them again. So here the opponent power of restraint coming in. Think specifically something you were trying to purify, and say in your mind how long you can stay away from committing again. That honest engagement. Now rejoice in all our positive actions. Also, they will bring about results. Also, multiply. The karma being definite in the positive actions. So, unless they're destroyed by anger, it can definitely bring a result of future happiness and future rebirths, good conditions. All Buddha Bhagavans, please pay attention to me in this life and in other states of rebirth in which I have circled in samsara from beginningless lives. Whatever roots of virtue I have created by generosity, even as little as giving just one mouthful of food to a being born in the animal realm. Whatever roots of virtue I have created by guarding morality. Whatever roots of virtue I have created by following pure conduct. Whatever roots of virtue I have created by fully ripening sentient beings. Whatever roots of virtue I have created by generating bodhicitta. And whatever roots of virtue I have created by my unsurpassed transcendental wisdom. All these assembled and gathered, then combined together. So all our virtues of this life, past lives, and all the merits, virtues of all the sentient beings. So combined together, I fully dedicate to the unsurpassed, the form bodies, to the unexcelled, the wisdom truth body, that we may attain the enlightened mind of the Buddhas, that higher than the high, so particularly referring to the enjoyment body, that's superior to superior, the emanation of Manakai body, thus are completely dedicated to the highest, perfectly complete enlightenment. Again, think the merits are actually all empty of inherent existing. They're created due to our prostrations. Prostrations were created through our physical or visualization, and that was due to the holy object of the Buddhas in front of us. So see it all in emptiness. Ourselves don't exist inherently. The practice doesn't exist inherently. The merit doesn't exist inherently. Just as the past Buddha Bhagavans have fully dedicated, just the future Buddha Bhagavans will fully dedicate, just as the present embodying Buddha Bhagavans are fully dedicating. Like that, I too dedicate fully. I confess all negative actions individually. I rejoice in all merits. I urge and request all the Buddhas may achieve the supreme, holy, peerless, transcendental wisdom. To the conquerors, the best of humans who are living in the present time, who lived in the past, who will likewise come, all those whose qualities are vast as an infinite ocean, with hands folded, I approach for refuge. So then go to the actual general confession. Okay. Start with a kind of a heavy, distressed mind. Oh, woe is me. Wow. What mistakes I've done. Great Guru Vajradhara, all the other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who abide in the 10 directions, and all the Venerable Sangha, please pay attention to me. I who am named, so say your name, Gendun, circling cycle existence from beginningless time until the present, overpowered by delusions such as attachment, hatred, and ignorance. By means of my body, speech, and mind, have committed the 10 non-virtuous actions. So reflect a little bit on that. So bring to mind again the things you did, especially this life, what you remember, quite heavy, depending on the motivation, how you did it, to whom it was done. So now with regret, knowing the consequences those actions will bring, we confess. We have committed the 5 heavy negative karmas. We committed the 5 nearing heavy negative karmas without break. I've transgressed the vows of individual liberation. So that's what some people have taken refuge and taken the lay vows. Transgressed the vows of bodhisattvas. And transgressed the samaya, the secret mantra, tantric vows taken. I have been disrespectful to my parents, disrespectful to my Vajra masters and my abbot, and disrespectful to my spiritual friends living in ordination. I have committed actions harmful to 3 rare sublime ones, abandoned the holy Dharma, criticized the Arya Sangha. Harmed sentient beings and so on. These and many other non-virtuous negative actions I have done, have caused others to do, have rejoiced in others doing, and so forth. In the presence of the great Guru Vajradhara, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who abide in the 10 directions, and the Venerable Sangha, I admit this entire collection of faults and transgressions that are obstacles to my own higher rebirth and liberation, and causes of cycle existence in the lower realms. I do not conceal them, and I accept them as negative. I promise to refrain from doing these negative actions again in the future. So again, the opponent power of restraint. By confessing and acknowledging them, I will attain and abide in happiness, while by not confessing and acknowledging them, true happiness will not come. Okay, so we'll do the mantra of pure morality 7 times. So again, with mindfulness, think by saying this mantra, you will be able to have mindfulness, introspection, conscientiousness, and to watch your mind, to see what happens when you have the tendency to repeat some of those actions you try to purify, and you catch it. You catch it before the mind leads you on to create a new karma, new projecting karma. Om Namo Dashila Sambara Sambara Bara Mahashudo Sapapema Vibhushite Ujudara Dara Samanta Avalokite Umbeso. Om Amogashila Sambara Sambara Bara Bara Mahashudo Sapapema Vibhushite Ujudara Dara Samanta Avalokite Umbeso. Om Amogashila Sambara Sambara Bara Bara Mahashudo Sapapema Vibhushite Ujudara Dara Samanta Avalokite Umbeso. Om Amagashila Sambara Sambara Bara Bara Mahashudo Sapapema Vibhushite Ujudara Dara Samanta Avalokite Umbeso. Om Amagashila Sambara Sambara Bara Bara Mahashudo Sapapema Vibhushite Ujudara Dara Samanta Avalokite Umbeso. Om Amagashila Sambara Sambara Bara Bara Mahashudo Sapapema Vibhushite Ujudara Dara Samanta Avalokite Umbeso. Om Amagashila Sambara Sambara Bara Bara Mahashudo Sapapema Vibhushite Ujudara Dara Samanta Avalokite Umbeso. By abiding in faultless morality of the Dharma rules, completely pure morality, and morality free from conceit, may I complete the perfection of morality. Then think the force of reciting the names of 35 Buddhas. This beautiful nectar light comes to you. Goes through your whole body, so you become like crystal, like a crystal vessel. And slowly dissolve the whole merit field in front of you. The medicine Buddhas dissolve up into the green line of Buddhas. That goes up to the red line of Buddhas, that into yellow, that goes to white and the blue, and then goes up into Guru Shakyamuni Buddha. And the Buddha comes to the crown of your head. So again, remember, it's the essence of your Guru, your main teacher. Dissolves into golden light. And that dissolves into you. It's going to look like a drop of water dissolving into the ocean. Dissolve into your mind, completely blessing your mind. Okay, it's a bit like that. Okay. And of course, there's a last chapter on emptiness, yeah, but I haven't got much time because my internet cuts at 10 o'clock. So I have to do it quick. So it's like school here. So let's do a few dedication prayers, okay?
I can bring up some dedication prayers if you want.
Yeah. Have you got the standard ones? For Bodhicitta, etc. Mm. No, that's the Nelson Mandela. Anyway, so to actualize bodhicitta, may the precious supreme bodhicitta not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. Remember, that's our main practice, bodhicitta. In the Mahayana, that's our food, that's our main essence. Okay? So then also with that, to complete our path, we need the emptiness. So may the precious view of emptiness not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. So whatever teachings you've heard, whatever understanding you have of emptiness, may you be able to increase it more and more. Again, it's fundamental to our method to achieve enlightenment. See that mind realizing emptiness conjoined with bodhicitta. Bodhicitta gives that wisdom the power to cut through the subtlest obscurations that block us from achieving enlightenment. So samsara nirvana lack even an atom of inherent existence, and cause and effect and dependent rising and betraying. I seek your blessing to discern the meaning of Nagarjuna thought, that these two are mutually complementary and not contradictory. I haven't got the Dalai Lama's new prayer, but anyway. Lama Zopa made a new prayer for His Holiness. You have it? If you have it, you can say it. But I haven't got it in my book here. Okay. So no book. So I would like to then finish up, of course, the Dalai Lama's long life, so we can say the order. The land encircled by snow mountains, you're the source of all happiness and good, all-powerful generosity, Tenzin Gendun. So please remain until samsara ends. So it's only due to the kindness of these spiritual beings we have all these methods to practice and purify. Without them, we're completely lost. Right. Wait. Anyway, we could think, whatever merits we've created from this, may all our teachers, so whatever personal features you've taken, may they have long, healthy lives, and you request for them to keep teaching, to keep sharing their knowledge. So especially with the Lama Zopa Rinpoche, may he continue his activities, all these projects come about. I think of all the study groups, all the centers in the FPMT, where they flourish and help as many beings as possible get in touch with the Dharma. And they use methods that they learn to pacify their minds, generate bodhicitta, generate emptiness, the mind of emptiness, loving emptiness. How wonderful that would be. Okay, so hopefully you can use this practice in your daily life. I mean, even if you can't do the physical prostration, at least learn to say it. Yeah, say it. So go, you can have your books open, look a bit about what karma is, what the experience of karma is, then the names, visualize the image in front of you, then try and imagine them in front of you. First, of course, it's difficult, 25 Buddhism, Buddhism, all the colors. First, get the presence of these beings there, because they really appear in front of us when we want them to appear. They'll appear to us in front. Presence, and then visualize. And with all that mindfulness, then you have the four opponent powers, taking refuge, regret, saying the names of remedy, and the restraint at the end in the prayer. Good luck. My internet's going to cut, so I don't want to just drop you.
Thank you very much, Venerable Gendun. We're
Thank you.
sad.